And I believe we are live here. Hello, wonderful viewers. I'm here with the great SLJ Productions, Stephen Jarvis himself.
You're too kind.
No, I'm not. I will be a little boastful for Stephen here. Stephen does some of the best Bond videos and rankings I've seen on the platform. His analyses. Your analyses are fantastic, and I think more people should watch them. And it's funny that Stephen and I, it was one of those interesting things where I've been a fan of his for a couple of years now, and about 8 months ago we found out that we lived within a half an hour of each other. So we've done quite a bit of stuff since then.
Yeah, it's been just a great blessing just to be able to talk to Bond fans in general, because I've been pent up with some of these opinions for decades, but also just the general amicable nature of some people, and you and I happen to live close to each other, so we've hung out several times, and it's been great.
Oh yeah, well, and that proximity is nice because it allows us to actually have a discourse where it's not just online. We can actually talk about it, or go into a venue and actually see things that relate to what we like about the Bond franchise and other things we enjoy. And that goes back into something that we both very much like, which is the soundtracks and the scores to the Bond films. So in this live show, we're going to be covering our favorite tracks and our least favorite tracks from all 27 Bond films. Which is, this was a lot of music I had to listen to in the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, because I do full musical scores for just about every one of my videos, I'm constantly listening to these things. So putting this list together wasn't quite as difficult for me, but, and, I just finished up the Bond music shorts, which certainly provided most of this list, but yeah. But
this is something that we've discussed for a while now. I have listened to all of the scores prior to us having this idea earlier in the month, or I think last month, but I hadn't listened to some of the films completely, like their entire scores. I had heard maybe half of them for some of the films that I'm not as much of a fan of, and the scores are a little bit lower key, a little bit lower ranking for me. But it was interesting to go through and listen to all of them, and I did the wrong thing, I think, which was listening from starting with Dr. No and finishing up with No Time to Die.
It's such a wild ride.
It is, because especially going from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and then from there on, it's a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities. And it's interesting to see a theme introduced in one film score and then have it carry over but change or just totally lose it. So it's interesting. For the show we're doing today, we are going to start with Dr. No and work our way all the way through No Time to Die. I have my rankings on the tablet here. Stephen, I'm sure you've got yours somewhere in front of you there.
Yep, on the phone.
And then on the phone, and then I have a little whiteboard that has the number of dittos. So for every instance where Stephen and I have something that is congruous with each other, we have the same pick for our favorite, a runner-up, or the least favorite, I will put a tally here, and we'll see where we stand at the end of the show. And one thing I will mention, for those who watch this as a VOD, I will have chapters in the description once this is done, so if you wanted to jump around from film to film, you can see that. And I will have a pinned comment that has my favorite, runner-up, and least favorite for every film, along with Steven's once the show goes into the VOD mode. So that'll be there in case people want to see, if they want to jump around and see, oh, what do they think of, Live and Let Die or Moonraker, you can see that there. And I have a lovely little slideshow here to accompany us for the show. I took all of these photos. Obviously, the properties within them are not mine, but I wanted to do more than just have a standard poster for each film that we're going to be discussing here. So, are we ready to hop right into it?
Let's do it.
So we're going to start with Dr. No, and this is a Japanese release poster that has part of the Bond themes music paper here. And this is a film that I don't like the score of very much, and I don't think that's a hot take. I don't think that's a special opinion. But this does not feel like a Bond score to me.
Yeah, and, we have to give them a little leeway because it's the first time they're trying to figure this out. But even for 60s scores just in movies, this sounds really dated to me.
It feels like a King Kong or like a monster movie soundtrack at some parts. It's just very generic is the issue I've had with it.
Yeah.
And of course it was composed by, the Bond theme is Monty Norman and John Barry. I don't want to credit them too much for the rest of the score since it's so awful. But the score for Dr. No, if you've not sat down and listened to it, I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you've already listened to every other Bond film soundtrack. It's not that great. For my favorite track, and one stipulation I'll say here, so if you didn't mention this, we're not counting title themes, so vocal tracks that are the title themes. Although, if there are other vocal tracks that appear in the film, we can include those. And we're trying to avoid using the Bond theme, unless it is a special instance of it, as much as we can. Because every film has the Bond theme at some point or another, aside from Never Say Never Again, and I guess Casino Royale 67.
Right.
However, the only track I like out of this entire film is the Bond theme. That's the only thing I like. I've got no runner-up. I don't find a lot of joy in the other pieces of music that appear in this specific film. It's just the Bond theme for me. It's the only thing that I think is recognizable or notable.
All right. I have similar feelings. I don't care for the score at all. And I did my best to try to avoid the Bond theme in the same way, but it's not a hard and fast rule. However, I did pick Underneath the Mango Tree for this. That's just a song that I think weirdly very hummable to me when I'm going around doing chores in the house. You can pick any version, but if I have to pick one specific one, I'm just going to go with the Diana Copland version. And if I have a runner-up, the soundtrack album is really weird because it contains almost no original music from the film. Like none of the actual underscore is really there. But there is a track called Dr. No's Fantasy that I find just a very laid-back, island fantasy kind of music that I really like.
Well, and I do appreciate that there's some steel drums that show up in there and some kind of Islander music, but none of it feels like a Bond film. And again, I do give them credit that this is the first film. There was no template or idea of what to do for the score. But this is not one where I'm like, okay, what do I want to listen today? Dr. No. It is I say no to Dr. No.
But to your credit, there are a lot of other franchises where the first score in it is still one of the best for it. Because it set the template for it. And I mean, this kind of did, but I think the next film is, and Goldfinger are going to be much more of that. So what's your least favorite from this?
Truthfully, a lot of it is just rough. And again, this is being transparent with my notes. I literally have on here, the James Bond theme is my favorite. I'm cheating. I dislike everything else. That's what I literally have in my show notes here. I will say that the music when Bond kills the henchman in the swamp at Crab Key, and it sounds like something straight out of like King Kong swatting an airplane. That's the thing that I think of like, wow, I hate this. That is, I don't know the name of that specific track off the top of the head because I listen to the score and I'm like, it all runs together for a lot of it. And it's just rough. Yeah.
If I had to pick one, it would be the Tarantula music. And the reason I hate that is the Mickey Mousing that happens when he hits the thing with the shoe. That frustrates me. That's my pick.
So, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm trying to monitor chat for those that are commenting. I've got it pulled up on my phone. For whatever reason, the overlay is not working here on the on StreamYard for me. But I see that we have Jobin in chat. Jobin, I appreciate that you're here. Jobin's also a Bond fan. He's one of the guys in our Discord server. But Dr. No, this is a film that, at the end, I'm not going to make us do a ranking because that misses the point here. We're going to go through and say here's our maybe top 3 favorite scorers and then our bottom. Dr. No is my least favorite of the official films. I'm willing to give that away here because I think that there is not an official film that makes the mistakes, or not even mistakes, but doesn't do something as poorly as this does. I think this is the one where it just feels very pedestrian, feels very standard.
Fair enough.
So our next film is one of our favorites, and that is From Russia with Love. And this is composed by John Barry. This is, we talk about instances where a franchise does a score great for the first film. Like, I think of things like, obviously, Jaws is a fantastic one, and we have, I remember the original Iron Man had a good score, Batman 89. From Russia with Love is, this might be the best sophomore score that they've ever done for a film. It is so unbelievably fantastic. This is probably, top 3 or 4 for me. It's really good.
If it's not my top 5, it consistently rides that line. It is fantastic.
This is one that, when I think of Connery's Bond, I think of this film. This is what I go to. And I'm not going to count this as my favorite, but the title track of the Bond theme with that kind of Middle Eastern, Eastern European twang that it has, That is what I think of when I hear the Bond theme in my head.
All right.
Is that version of it. But if we're talking individual tracks off of the album that are not the Bond theme, I like the 007 Takes the Lecter. So I think for me the most bombastic version of the 007 theme that shows up in this film.
Okay.
And I just think it's fantastic. I've even mentioned to you how it's appeared in other media that I like, and it's just a track that sticks in my head there too.
Yeah. That's interesting because I'm going to jump the gun here. 007 Takes the Lecter is actually my least favorite track.
Really?
Not because of the 007 theme. The theme itself is great, but that particular rendition, because there's two versions of the 007 theme for the soundtrack. I like the other one.
Sure.
The 007 Takes the Lecter, the lengthened buildup of the dun, 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 dun. That drives me nuts every time I listen.
I love it. It reminds me of like Bolero, the Spanish orchestral piece that goes on forever. But and that's funny that it's that flip there, so we have the opposite effect there for what we like and what we dislike.
I wouldn't mind if it kept going through its cycle, dun 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 dun, dun, but it doesn't. It just consistently rides certain things, and it like messes with my mind.
That's fair. I like the more bombastic start of it for me. I've always been a fan of that very bassy, that drummy percussion sound. I've always enjoyed that. Because when I think of Connery, I kind of think of a little bit of brutish, but a little bit of suave. And that, deep, hearty drumming percussion gets to me. So what is your favorite then, if 007 Takes the Lecter is your bottom? And I guess we should say, for some of these films, our bottom track is still one that we may enjoy.
Oh, right? Yeah. I don't think there's a dull part of this score, really. If I can't use the opening instrumental from Rush with Love, I adore that track. And if I have to pick something within the film itself, it would be the Saint Sophia music, the meeting in Saint Sophia.
It's fantastic.
I love the suspense part of it. I love the bells with it. It's fantastic.
That is one that I actually thought about doing as a runner-up. My runner-up is the Istanbul Drive, which is part of the Bond theme, but I think that, and part of it is going into it a little bit with how it is in the film versus listening to it solo. I love that scene in the film where Bond's being tailed and everyone knows what's happening. And as a piece of music by itself, it still is great, but in the film it works wonderfully well.
Yes, it does.
That is one that I hear that in my head when I think of this movie. So, what would your runner-up for this film be?
It would probably be Bond with bongos. Yeah, and then, same thing.
For me, my least favorite, I have the Golden Horn. I believe that's one of the kind of more Turkish-sounding tracks. And again, I even have in my notes here, it's a less enjoyed track, but I still like it. I don't think that From Russia with Love really has any stinkers on the score. I think it's...
there's going to be quite a few scores that I don't think there's a really bad song on it.
I see that we have Ross in chat. Ross, happy to see you here. So our next film, From Russia with Love is fantastic. Our next film is one that any Bond fan over the age of 68, if they've had a prostate exam, this might be their favorite Bond film, and that is Goldfinger. And Goldfinger is one that I think a lot of folks... I know I've noticed this, and tell me if you've seen it too. A lot of people complain that it is too percussion-y, it is too bassy, it's too like brassy.
To me, it's brassy. That's the problem.
Listening to it, I will say that I didn't feel that as much on my most recent listen. I don't think it certainly had a lot of that, don't get me wrong. But I liked it more than I recalled enjoying it. Because for me, a lot of this is when the Goldfinger theme comes in is what you tend to think of. And then a lot of that brassiness to it.
Sure. And to me, it's primarily a mixing problem. Because if you don't know how to mix these things well and it sounds very tinny, the brass becomes screechy and that's a problem. I have here the booklets for every physical Bond soundtrack that I own. And the La La Land Records remaster of it is my favorite presentation of this whole thing. Because it doesn't kill it. It tempers it and makes it sound more balanced, which made me enjoy it more than I ever have.
And that's the thing, is that I think people are kind of, I don't say waking up to it, but they're paying more attention to it. That if something is mastered poorly, that can make a great piece of music sound awful. Right? Yeah. And I think of like Metallica and Justice for All was an album that had terrible masterings up until like 10 years ago. And Rush had the same issue too. We have a comment here from my man Delanius Monk. Goldfinger is like horseradish, horrible during your youth, but with age you gotta have it on the prime rib.
It is a score I'm coming to appreciate more and more, even if it's not exactly my thing. But it is undeniably Bond. It's what people think of.
Absolutely. So for my favorite track of the film, and this is one that actually does have a lot of that brassiness to it, I like the track The Dawn Raid on Fort Knox. I like that track quite a bit with the lead-in with Pussy Galore's flying circus and everything that's happening there. I like that build-up to what's happening. It works in the film, but as a standalone piece of music on the version of the album I listened to, which was not the La La Land version, but it was like whatever the official MGM release from like 15 years ago was. It's like a fairly long track. It's like 8 or 9 minutes long, but I was really enthralled just listening to it by itself.
Sure.
So what is your favorite for this album? Or I guess for this soundtrack, I should say.
The Laser Beam.
So the Laser Beam is my runner-up. I think it's fantastic. Music is something that can take a scene that is suspenseful, like the Laser Beam scene in the film, but by itself, that piece of music is suspenseful.
Yeah. And it's a rare gift to be able to make it so, because there are some soundtracks that just... they're great soundtracks, but they're great within the context of the film. Listening to it by itself can be a bit of an issue. The Laser Beam does not have that problem for me. I can listen to it just by itself, and I'm transported back to that scene, which is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Oh, same. Goldfinger is a film, we're not talking about the movies directly, but we are right now. Goldfinger is a movie that I would like if it had more that happened. It's a film where not a whole lot really feels like it happens. And the laser beam scene, I think, for me, it's the pre-titles and that are the two parts of the film where I feel like I'm most enthralled by what's happening in the movie. What is your runner-up for this film?
The Alpine Drive.
Okay, yeah, that's a fantastic piece of music. And for my least favorite, and this is kind of cheating, but I know that we have this a couple of times, I have the Goldfinger theme that is played on like the very 60s slide guitariness that appears in certain parts of the film. It dates the film so much more than I think the rest of the score does. It was on the official soundtrack I listened to, and I do recall it in some of the releases in the film. I think it played over the credits. And it's not vocals, it's just guitar work, and it sounds...
it's just the instrumental version you will probably hear on most US versions of the album. If I have to stick to the album, I think my least favorite track is Death of Tilly. Not because it's bad, but because it's the least enjoyable. But if I could actually pick something from the film that we don't have access to, it's that Stud Farm guitar music.
Oh, yeah.
Oryx Farm. I just don't like that track that much.
It's Goldfinger is one where I think what appears in the film is generally good, but yeah, there are some segments where it's like, which this is not the first time. I guess this is the first time Barry made some poor decisions that will appear in the films that hurt things, but it happens.
He's not a sacrosanct person. He will make some iffy things.
So Goldfinger, a big film, but a bigger Bond film was Thunderball, and Thunderball is a score that I think I appreciate more than Goldfinger. I wouldn't say I enjoyed as much as From Russia with Love, but a lot of the sounds of Thunderball I think are very Connery. I think they work very well for the film. And standalone, I think they work pretty well too.
Yeah. I've said it several times in other videos. When I think of Connery Bond, this score comes to mind. It's with the lovely bell percussion with it, the kind of smooth string. There's a fair amount of bass to it. This, to me, it's not my favorite Connery score, but quintessential of what I think of. And the La La Land Records version that I have with the 2 discs, it was a joy to be able to hear a lot of these tracks.
Yeah, I listened, I found a rip of the La La Land Records version online, and it's great. This is one of those albums or soundtracks where I was finding myself having to kind of look for something I didn't like, because I was enjoying so much of it. Sure. And for me, my favorites, I like a lot of the action music that shows up in this. And admittedly, the underwater action's a little bit more, I don't want to say whimsical, but kind of, it has that underwater feeling. Like, even when you listen to it, it feels like it's underwater music. But for me, I really liked the car chase and the street chase, those 2 tracks. And they just have that kind of bombastic Bond feel. It feels like it belongs in the film, and it just works pretty well.
Okay. My favorite is Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I mean, how could you not like that one, right?
Yeah. I like all the versions that we have of it. There's a couple of instrumental versions. There's a Shirley Bassey one. But the first one I ever listened to, apart from the film, was the Dionne Warwick version, which is my favorite.
And correct me if I'm wrong, haven't you done a video specifically on that? Or am I thinking incorrectly here?
I've brought it up a couple of times, but I have yet to do the alternate themes ranking, which I'm sure this will show up high.
I imagine so too. Now, is there anything that you dislike in Thunderball?
Music-wise?
Yeah.
There's a couple of audio mixes for the film, which substitutes out various bits of music. And if I had to pick one, it's kind of the same thing as Goldfinger. It's just the least enjoyable to me. There's one track that is used for Bond is discovered underwater with the bombs, with Largo. When they reuse the Chateau fight, I mean, I love that track, so I don't have a problem with it. It's the other version of that I just don't care for as much.
For me, I have two here that, again, I don't dislike them, but I just like them less. And that is the music that plays when they're switching the bodies at the start of the film, near the start of the film.
And that's actually the runner-up. I love
really?
that.
Oh, for me, it doesn't work as much for a piece of music. The other piece I have is when Bond meets Domino. And I like about half of that track that plays, but it gets a little goofy as parts of it. And it just doesn't really work as well.
The back half where it starts to go into the island thing. Yeah, I get that.
The island thing, it kind of feels like something you'd hear in like a Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo, tropical episode. Like it's a little goofy. But Thunderball is one of those movies that a lot of people don't like a lot of the elements of it just because it is long and bombastic and the rear screen projections some of the worst in the series and some other stuff. But the score is one of those places where it's like, yeah, this works very well for me.
It does too. Yep.
Go sip here. But we're moving on to a different composer and a different film, and that is Casino Royale 67, which is composed by Burt Bacharach, who I generally enjoy his music. I actually have some of his like classic albums on vinyl. But this is a soundtrack that I don't think that either of us dislike it, but I didn't like it nearly as much as you did.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best things about the film, but I feel weird talking about it in conjunction with the rest of the scores because kind of like the film, it's not trying to go for exactly the same thing, so it's a little hard to judge.
Yes, and for me, I think as a standalone album, it's fine. And in the film, it is probably the best part of the film for me. It's not a movie that I particularly enjoy, although I don't hate it. It's just that it's very 60s. This is like, I think this might be the most dated score out of all of them across all of the films. And we have some David Arnold stuff that's very 90s electronica that we'll be getting to later. But this is the one that, like, this dates it, like, 1967, but also specifically, like, a certain part of 1967, right? Sure. But for my favorite for this film, I actually really do like the main theme to the movie. I know it's kind of goofy, it's kind of wonky, but I think it fits the more comedic tone that they're going for this film. And I do like it as a standalone piece of music.
I agree. It's a great one. My favorite is the track known as Venerable Sir James Bond. It's the bit of music that literally opens up the film as they're driving through to get to Sir James's mansion. I just really like it.
It's funny. That is my runner-up. I also really like that piece of music. I think it's quite good. For negatives, my least favorite was the track I believe is called Home James Don't Spare the Horses.
I have heard that in so many other things.
And that is a thing for me is when I hear a piece of music in other media, if it's not the original one, which this is the original piece from my understanding, but apparently it was used in like coffee commercials and other stuff. We'll get to some later films where they decide to reuse music from more established, more famous films, and I don't like it there. But for me, that piece, it's too goofy. And that's saying something for this film.
For me, that's actually the reason that I don't, for my least favorite, which is the bit of music where they have the costumes.
Oh, yeah.
Going on. And, like they do some French-sounding music and whatnot. I just don't care for that bit. My runner-up would be The Look of Love.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. I didn't put it in there just to avoid having whatever the vocal theme is, but that is one that I do think that is the highlight of the entire film, is that track.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It's listening to it yesterday. I re-listened to Never Say Never Again and this one yesterday in particular, and it's like, okay, this is the good stuff.
Yeah.
We have some comments here. We have from Chicago Joe. Chicago Joe here. Baccarat score, easily the best part of CR67, along with Jacqueline Bisset as Miss Goodthighs.
She's yummy.
And, and then I can't say this name. Geg Tyree, you know who you are. My fave is the intro music to Majesties. It is pure 60s British, which we'll get to that here in a second. We'll get there in a second. But yeah, Casino Royale 67, I think the music is a high point. There's not a whole lot for me to go back to in this film otherwise.
I agree.
So, on to our next film, the official Bond film from 67, which is You Only Live Twice, composed by John Barry.
Yep.
And this is one that I have heard people say is the most pretty, the most beautiful Bond score. I maybe agree with that, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's a high honor. I'm not quite there, but it is a beautiful score.
I think it's fantastic. I think it fits the tones of the film pretty well. The very, Japanese, like a lot of the kind of space themes that we'll see that come back in Moonraker, and then a lot of the Japanese undertones. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a score where, much like From Russia with Love, it takes the venue for the film, the locale for the film, and works it into the score quite well.
Yes, it does.
So, for my favorite track for the film, and I think we might be lined up here, I've got a feeling, it's Bond Avert's World War III is my favorite track for the film. So, that's our first proper ditto here, and for those who haven't heard that piece of music, it is fantastic. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite Barry piece of music he did, but it's probably like top 3. I think it's very good.
It's up there. It's just so fantastic. And, I mean, I just did the actions ranking, and I was surprised how high the volcano layer showed up, but I won't deny that part of it is because when this piece kicks in there, I'm just so in love with it.
Well, a good piece of music set to a great scene will only enhance the scene and enhance the music for you. And I think of so many pieces of media that I would otherwise not necessarily remember if it weren't for a great score or some sort of great, sound design that goes into it.
Yep.
For my runner-up, and I don't know if you're here too, but it's the Aki, Tiger, and Osato. Just that theme. It's like 5 or 6 minutes long.
Okay. That's my least favorite, but only in the same way that we do with all these Connery films. It's just the least enjoyable to me. Sure. My runner-up is The Capsule in Space.
That's a fantastic piece of music. Yeah. I mean, that's... Again, there's not much to say. Like, if you haven't watched Yolt in a while, which I don't particularly love the film that much. I think it's aged pretty poorly for a lot of the concepts and elements. But the soundtrack is fantastic.
I think it's dull a lot of the time. And then the second half does start to pick up. But it's a little too late for me. But yeah, I can appreciate why some people, this is one of their favorites. I'm just not there. Connery has better films.
Exactly. Now, for a least favorite track, you said you have Aki, Tiger, and Osato. I have The Fight at the Kobe Dock, is what I have.
Oh, man, I love that.
Well, again, this goes back to I still like it. It's just I have to pick something to be the bottom. And for me, it's I think it leans a little bit too hard into the Japanese sound for parts of it. Okay. And I get that this was an era where they would do that, where they would throw in, I guess we would call them cliche now, to have certain sound effects, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't dislike it. It's just that when I was listening to it, that was the only one that stuck out. I was like, okay, this is gonna. If one has to be at the bottom, this is the one.
Okay.
So, but yeah, otherwise, I mean, Yolt, it's a fantastic soundtrack, fantastic. I mean, the film, even though it's not one of my favorites, again, like you said, if someone says it's their favorite, I understand why.
Sure.
It's just Connery feels like he's on the verge of sleeping for half the film for me.
Yeah.
But the next film is one that I'm glad to see has had a great reappraisal over the last decade, and that is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I have an interesting, I don't remember if this is Japanese. Yeah, it's a Japanese poster here, and I like this. I think that the posters for Majesties were great. A lot of the Bond with Bride stuff, but this one here having actual snippets of the film in there, where it's dramatized, but it's actual snippets of the film on the poster. I think is very cool. And the score, of course, was done by John Barry. And this is another fantastic one.
Yeah. This poster actually was my pick. for the film for that video. So I agree with you there. I unfortunately, as great as the score is, and it is rightly regarded as one of the best, I do have an outright terrible one from this that I don't care for, but we'll get to that.
I think we probably had the same one.
Probably.
Looking at our comments, we have my man Hunk of Crab here, who says that he is listening to us, something good to listen to, always making Turkish.
Nice.
So I don't know if it's Turkish food or Turkish delight or something, but I'm happy to see it. For my favorite track for the film, and admittedly, Majesty's is a film that really relies on the new version of the Bond theme that appears here.
Yeah.
I actually have the opening for This Never Happened to the Other Fella. I love that long piece of music that plays during the start of the film with the, Bond and Teresa and the cars and the beach and the fighting.
Mm-hmm. When I think bass heavy, so wonderful.
And for me, that works in some Bond theme. We get some of the Majesty's elements of the Bond theme. We have the I love that very 60s sounding action suspense theme. Mm-hmm. Where it's like dun 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 dun, like almost like something out of Wizard of Oz. I love it, and for me, that piece of music is my number one for this film.
My favorite is Over and Out,
which is fantastic.
Yeah, the piece of music that plays as Bond and Draco are coming into Piz Gloria, and Tracy knows she's trying to stall Blofeld. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a wonderful version of the main theme.
And it's a little bit more subdued, which I like. It's not like very bombastic, and that overarching Bond theme in this film is there. And for me, my runner-up is another one of them. Is the ski chase.
That is also my runner-up.
Yeah, so another match there. And again, for this film, like you mentioned in your action scenes ranked from yesterday, the ski chase, the first ski chase, like this is a film that I think utilizes the music probably the best for action at this point in the series. Yeah. Which I would probably attribute to Peter Hunt having been the editor for the previous films and now directing this one, knowing where he wanted to have certain things when things were happening in the music. I think it just works so wonderfully there.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So we have here in chat, we have Chicago Joe yet again, and he said this is his favorite score, and for him, Gumball Safe, which is excellent.
That almost made it.
This is a film where there's only one outright bad piece of music, and we'll get to it because we're getting into the season for why we don't like that song. And then, of course, the Escape from Piz Gloria, fantastic. And Don't Be So Proud. And he loves the La La Land edition of this. So,
this was a film, talking of the soundtracks, I never thought it needed an expanded edition because the original one was so good. And
it was comprehensive. Yeah.
My thing with the La La Land records, I want every film to have them, obviously, but I want them to prioritize the films that sorely need the expansion.
Absolutely.
Like, I think Spy Who Loved Me absolutely needs one, even if I don't care for that score as much as others. License to Kill absolutely needed it. Moonraker desperately needed it. View to a Kill desperately needs it. And so Majesty's I kind of had on a little lower, that just it had a pretty solid expansion, and I was willing to wait. But I am still happy with what we got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and this is not the first time that we have seen things that we enjoy get another redo rather than things that need it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do we need to see Fallout 4 or Skyrim again? How about we get something that hasn't been remade?
Do I need a second remake of the Halo campaign? No.
No. But getting into our least favorite, and I think we're going to be matched up here. Do you know how Christmas trees are grown?
Yep, that's my least favorite.
I hate it. For those, if you haven't listened to the score but you've seen the film, it's a track that plays some of the points. I believe we hear it for the first time after Bond has escaped and he's trying to meet up with Teresa in the town.
The first time you hear it is actually when he gets off the train to meet
before Blofeld
with Irma Bund. Yes, it does also play right before Tracy comes in on the skate.
In the car. Yeah, the skates in the so it's just awful. It's, again, dated 60s. It kind of reminds me of, and I'm sure we'll have some viewers who have seen it, Kelly's Heroes, which is a fantastic film. I love that movie, but that movie has some of the most dated 60s music in a film about World War II. Even though it's a heist movie, it's like Ocean's 11 with Nazis and the army. But it's one of those things where that's, if I heard that track when I was out and about, I'd be like, oh, it's just bad 60s music. There's plenty of bad music in the 60s. But hearing it in the Bond film was like, this is rough. But yeah, Majesties. I mean, it's, again, another one of those, if someone said, hey, this is my favorite score, I get it. This to me is like, this is probably the best iteration of the Bond theme up to this point for me. And that's saying something, because I love the From Russia with Love version.
Yeah, it's funny to me that Majesty's has gotten this reappraisal, because I feel like so much of the crap was pinned on George Lazenby, and I understand it. I pin a fair amount of crap on him too, but like, so much else about this movie is just absolute peak Bond. Just all the cylinders are firing. There's so much good stuff in it.
And truthfully, I think that people have kind of relaxed on the George hate, because I think he works well enough within the film. I don't think he's
not the worst first timer I've seen for this thing. We could have done worse.
Yes. But great score. I think we both enjoyed this film quite a bit. The next one is one that I think we both enjoy for reasons unintended by the filmmakers, and that is Diamonds Are Forever.
Yep.
And another Barry score. I think it's an excellent Barry score. I think that the soundtrack might be the best part of the film. And this was one of those ones where I had trouble picking favorites, because a lot of it is just so good. Yep. A lot of it is just so fantastic. And I like that we work in the Diamonds theme a lot throughout the film, which is a track that we both like a lot. I know that we both love that.
Yeah.
Substantially.
It's my favorite title track of the original 20 films.
It's fantastic. I think it's the best Shirley Bassey one that was done. Yep. It's just utterly fantastic. And this is one where I won't say I cheated, but like, my least favorite is something that's kind of more background music that plays, but it's still music that was on the score. My favorites, and I'm going to say that one of these has to be the runner-up, but they're kind of interchangeable. I have 007 and Counting, and then I have Bond Beats Bambi and Thumper. Those two pieces are my kind of interchangeable favorite runner-up. I think they're both fantastic.
Okay. My two favorites would be Bond Meets Bambi and Thumper. I'm a sucker for atmospheric Bond music, and this one does not only that, but it uses the Diamonds theme in it. It's so brilliant. My runner-up is the Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd theme.
It's good. Again, it's also still kind of atmospheric.
Oh, it is.
It's funny, actually. So I have my copy of Diamonds here, which I finished last night. It's taking me too long to finish this. Despite the fact that Diamonds Are Forever, the film, has issues, and I think that it has issues with Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd with how they're portrayed, they're at least more notable than the Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd that are in this book.
Yeah.
So I'll give it that.
What's the least favorite?
I have the Circus theme, is what I have as my least favorite.
Okay. Yep. My least favorite is the Slumber Inc.
Yes.
The cheesy organ music that plays when Bond goes into the casket.
Yes. I listened to it, and I think it works for the film, but as a standalone piece, it's not good.
Yeah, but you and I are thinking along the same lines. It's some of the background music.
Yes.
I don't find it to be quite ear rapey, but they're not the tracks I want to listen to.
No. I mean, if this came up when you were listening, you would hit the skip button. You would not sit through them. And for me with Circus, I've stayed at that hotel before.
So have I.
I don't think they had changed it since this film came out. I still don't think they've changed it since this film came out. Diamonds, fantastic score. I think, again, high point. This is a film that I feel like a lot of people are kind of appreciating more as kind of a tongue-in-cheek comedy. I've joked with you that the way to improve this film is to put a laugh track over it. Yeah. And that would make it better. So, what a great score.
A film I enjoy, not really ironically, but I would say it's a guilty pleasure of mine.
We have here another comment from my man Dylan. We have Telly Savalas, Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland, and Don Rickles. What a film and a crew, or film crew in a film. A fun crew in a film. I can't speak. And of course, Kelly's Heroes. Which Kelly's Heroes feels kind of like a Bond movie a little bit. So if people here haven't seen that, maybe you have seen it, go watch Kelly's Heroes. Fantastic. But we're talking Bond, and we're moving on to a different Bond actor who'd do the next run of 6 films?
7.
And of course, we are here with Roger Moore and Live and Let Die. For what I've chosen, I have advertisements for Evinrude Motors and Glastron boats that they used the boat chase as part of their advertising in the 70s.
I mean, fair enough. It's one of the most iconic bits from the film.
It is. I know it's not one of your favorite bits from the film.
It just runs a little long, but it is really good. That's
I have a comment here. Hunker Crab said, "Can you guys comment if any of the songs on the soundtracks are good gym music?" I would argue that a lot of the Bond, yeah, most of the action stuff is great. I have actually listened to that when I'm lifting. The No Time to Die soundtrack was one which we'll get to, but that I would say Living Daylights is great for lifting or like
I would
moving
pick
around.
Living Die. That's another
Yes.
gym one to me.
This one, the thing with this album, and of course it's composed by George Martin, who famously was producer for the Beatles, I want to say.
Yep.
This is an album or a soundtrack that feels to me like an album. It works great in the film. I think it works great standalone. If you want to hear the funky 70s blaxploitation Bond soundtrack, this is perfect. And for me, I love that genre of film. I'm a big fan of things like Shaft and Across 110th Street, which is why we've got Yaphet Kotto in the film. And I think the music that George Martin composed for this is another one where if I had to pick, this is probably my favorite Roger Moore soundtrack. I know that you appreciate one of the later ones a little bit more.
Yeah, but this is up there.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And for me, my favorite piece of music, I love the boat chase music. I love that we have like the "Here Comes the Bride" interlude when he drives.
That's fun. That's really fun.
It's fun and it works. And it's a long chase. I know that you don't like the length of the boat chase. A lot of people, they have rightful claims about that being too long. It works for me. And the music is there at every step when it needs to be, and it fades out when it doesn't, and I love the boat chase.
Yeah, it's not constant throughout it, which that could have gotten annoying.
Well, I like that it gives you moments of lull, right? When we get to have Sheriff J.W. Pepper, which I don't love that character, but I think it works in the context of this film. Sure. I like him less in the next movie, but I like him here in this film. And the music, I think, this is one of those Bond films where the music comes in where it needs to and doesn't overstay its welcome, which they've done a good job at not having the music omnipresent in scenes of the film. But this is one where I feel like the blend of music to what's happening just works really, really well.
Yep.
So what's your number one?
It's the James Bond theme that plays when they're in the taxi going to Harlem. What else can I say?
That's my runner-up. I'm right there with you.
Such a great update to the Bond theme, and
it's
part
funky,
of the reason that I appreciate this score is because Roger Moore had to make an impression. We already had a kind of a misfire with George Lazenby, despite that film being really excellent, but Lazenby didn't catch on with people. Moore needed to make an impression, and I am so glad that they gave him like this score and this kind of feel with it, because it really makes a statement.
I love it. Again, that's my runner-up. I think it's a fantastic piece of music. When I think of Live and Let Die, I do think of that interlude where he's in the taxi and, they're following everyone. This is why, again, this goes back to the film and the book. What I like about both of them is that Bond is one step behind the bad guys for nearly both of those pieces of media.
Sure.
And the music, I think, works great because we get to have this cool theme for Bond, even though he's being tailed by everybody. Right, and I think that works well for what Roger Moore's Bond would end up being. Now, I did have to this isn't cheating because it's in the score and it's part of the official soundtrack. My least favorite thing, and I still like this piece of music, and I say this, I'll give some context. I grew up somewhere where we had a jazz funeral every summer at the end of summer, and it's the jazz funeral music.
Yep, Just a Closer Walk with Thee. That is also my least favorite.
Yes, and it's one where it's a fantastic piece of music, but I have to pick a least favorite in this, and that is a piece of music that was not made for this film. It's a classic piece of jazz funeral music that's existed for probably like 150 years at this point, honestly. Yeah. And it's just, for me, it works great in the scene, but it's not something that I would want to listen to by itself.
Well, on the album, it feels abrupt.
Yes.
From the rest, and I think that's my big problem with it.
Mm-hmm. We have a comment here from Chicago Joe, and he's saying that Live and Let Die was his first official soundtrack he ever bought when he was 14 years old. And the Bond soundtracks were his gateway into collecting soundtracks. And until David Arnold, this is his favorite score that was a non-Barry score. And this is a great one to love. It's a fantastic... Oh, yeah. I would say this is probably the best... This is probably my favorite Bond score of the 70s, I would say. I think I like it more than Diamonds.
I might agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. And what more is there to say? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I will say, because I didn't get to say my runner-up, Bond beat Solitaire.
It's great.
One of the things I love about this score is how Martin uses the Bond theme in his suspenseful, atmospheric way. Again, I'm a sucker for that. And I just love the tension in the music during something that should feel. I feel like with a lesser composer, they would just go for the romance and then go to danger. This is just tension throughout that I love.
Well, and this film does a great job with Live and Let Die showing up in the score.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of the
so
most
many different
natural
iterations.
ones.
Well, and I even love, I get it breaks the fourth wall, but when we have the Fillet of Soul singer singing the song to Bond,
I love it.
It's great. It's fantastic. I'm okay. I don't care if the camera winks at me a little bit. If the fish winks at me, I might have some issues. But if the camera winks, I'm okay with it.
The difference is the tone of the film. Live and Let Die is supposed to be fun. And so you can have those winks and nods like that.
But we're moving on to our next score, which is back to John Barry, and that is The Man with the Golden Gun, which I don't dislike this score, but it does kind of feel like we're in the taking a nap era for Barry here.
This is my least of John Barry's scores. Not that it's bad.
Yeah.
My least.
It feels pedestrian compared to everything else he's done before and after this. And I didn't struggle to find tracks I liked, but this is one where I had easier times finding things I disliked. I'll put it that way. But for my favorite, I have the track "Let's Go Get 'Em," and it's just an action piece.
Duplicate for us.
Okay, look at that, and it's good. This is a film where I don't necessarily love the Man with the Golden Gun music, but I do think it works well as an action theme within the film. Like, I don't love the title track, but I think it works as an action piece there. I don't have a ton to say here. It's a film that I like this movie more than most Bond fans probably do, but it's still not a favorite of mine. My runner-up, I have Bond meets Anders. I like that it's a little bit... It's a little bit menacing. It's got a little bit of that kind of fun elements to it, you know.
Yeah.
But
my runner-up is Return to Scaramanga's Funhouse.
Yeah. I like the Scaramanga Funhouse music that appears in the intro and the outro of the film. Yeah,
but the outro to me bumps it up a little bit more. Again, for a lot, I feel like I'm repeating myself. A lot of that atmospheric Bond music, but it's the tension throughout it, and you just feel it at the edge of your seat, just like, when is Bond going to pop out to get that shot? I love it.
Well, and I will say, with the atmospheric Bond music, we don't get as much of it in the earlier films because atmosphere in movies was not as much of a common thing at that point in the 60s and 70s, right? Once we get to Brosnan and Craig, we see a lot more atmospheric Bond music, and I'm all here for it. I love that. Least favorite, I have the Kung Fu fight. I don't like the Chinese like the attempts at like Chinese instruments and whatnot. It just doesn't work for me.
Okay, my least favorite. If I didn't have the La La Land record score, I wouldn't have thought about it. It's the first track for the Bottoms Up Club.
Oh yeah,
where you literally have ass in your face.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my least favorite.
Yeah. And that's. I mean, obviously, it's a part of the score. It's just. Yeah, this is a film where it does kind of feel like John Barry. I don't know. It's almost like how like Temple of Doom was made when everyone was getting divorced. Like, what was John Barry doing in his life when he made this film?
He was a very busy man at this point. This is one of those, he composed it in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it shows.
And it does. That, like, I'm amazed he crafted a functional score within 3 weeks. Not everybody can do that, but it does feel the most lazy of all of them. Yeah.
And Lazy Barry is still better than some of the bottom composers we'll be getting to. So, but the next one is a score that neither of us loves, but I know that there's at least one track that we both really like, and that is The Spy Who Loved Me. And this was a unique poster. Stephen and I were talking about some of the slides I had prior to going live. This was a poster that released for The Spy Who Loved Me nearly 15 years after the film came out in Hungary. And I thought it was a really interesting poster to feature here.
Yeah.
But this is, of course, a soundtrack scored by Marvin Hamlish. We are in full-on disco Bond. And my number one track is Bond 77. It's hard to beat disco Bond. It's fun. This is a soundtrack that has a lot of stinkers on it as far as I'm concerned. But Bond 77, when that kicks in, at any point in the film, and there are specific tracks that are the intro skiing or the big fight on La Paris, there are certain parts where it kicks in. Every time I am snapped back into the film. Not that I fade out, but this is one of those Bond films where you can kind of fall asleep in the middle and not miss a whole lot.
Unfortunately, I do really love The Spy Who Loved Me, but
Mm-hmm.
the score does at times feel like it's actively trying to take me away from my love.
100%. 100%. And I'm going to skipping the runner-up for now. We'll go right to the last. The Lawrence of Arabia music is one
That
of
is
the
also mine.
And that's because I don't want them reusing music from other more popular films in this movie. This is the biggest thing, is I don't want to draw a comparison in the thing I'm making to something else that is better than the thing I'm making. Right?
And the thing is that if the Lawrence of Arabia music was originally a comedy thing, I might be okay with it, but it's not. It's a serious, sweeping, epic thing.
Yes.
Nobody thinks sand dunes without thinking of this theme, and putting it in there, it's a gag that I feel it's not that funny. Mm-hmm. It's overdone.
100%. I think it's one of those things where it's like, and I get what they were going for, because that was the thing that they would do in the 70s of much like the slide whistle and Man with a Golden Gun, they would do some sort of comedic relief, but when it didn't need it.
Moonraker has a similar thing that it'll do. For Your Eyes Only also does the same thing. So I guess just more films for a while, they just had to reference music that wasn't a part of the film.
And it's a bummer. For my runner-up here, I do have the track titled Anya's Promise to Bond.
Okay.
Which plays over when she finds out that her boyfriend, husband, lover was killed by Bond. And I do like it because it has a little bit of the love theme, a little bit of No One Does It Better in there. Nobody does it better in there. I think it just works for me. It's a track that I think of, because I think of Bond 77 and I think of Nobody Does It Better, but how it is worked into the score for the film are the two things I think about when I think about this film.
You might have to send me a link to that, because the film itself doesn't have any music for that part.
Really? Huh. Well, this was on the official Marvin Hamlish, like that. I think it's Sony UMG, whoever actually owns the rights to it.
I don't actually have the physical album, so I'm probably missing it. But my runner-up is the Tanker.
The Tanker's fantastic. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is when this music in the score is doing well, it's really good. And when it's bad, it's like, turn this off. A film I think of, and some of our viewers may have seen it, it's a film called Convoy. And it's based on the song Convoy. They made a movie out of the song about truckers and all of that. And it's awful. But there's a part in the film where they play Waltz of the Sugar Plum Fairies over trucks in the desert, and I'm thinking, this is so baffling. Like, who looked at this and said, you know what, this is the music for our movie? And I have that a little bit with Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah. And with Moonraker a little bit too. But we'll get to our next film, Moonraker. Fantastic artwork for it. The score is fantastic. I am not a fan of the movie, personally. I think it's one of the most dull Bond films that got made. I find it very boring myself.
I have grown to love this score a lot more with the La La Land records. It's still not quite my favorite. I still have my main issue with it is the action music, I feel, doesn't quite match the intensity of what it's trying to do. I think it's a little too laid back. There's kind of a lethargic sense to this whole score.
Yes.
But there are parts where that slowness really works in its favor. This is an absolutely beautiful score.
No, I think the score for me is the best part of the film.
Yeah,
and some of the stunt work. I do think some of the stunt work is fantastic.
You were talking earlier how some people say You Only Live Twice is like the most beautiful. This, to me, is a better candidate for the more beautiful score.
Well, I think that the beauty that appears in Yolt is amplified here because they're both space films, and Barry has that very space sound to his scores when they do space stuff. And for me, my favorite track in the entire film is the flight into space.
That's my runner-up.
Okay. And what's your number one then?
Bond arrives in Rio, because I'm a sucker for using the instrumental title theme as like Bond comes into a new location. And I also just have an affinity for Brazil too. You know this. And know, I lived 2 years of my life there. I speak the Portuguese language, and I didn't live in Rio. I lived in Sao Paulo. But just going to Brazil is a point in its favor for me.
Hey, I totally get that. The runner-up I have the boat chase for the last instance in which we see the 007 theme for the rest of the films.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
I wonder
For
if
our
we're
least favorite,
Oh,
is it going to be the Magnificent Seven theme?
okay.
That's what I have as my least favorite.
For me, it's Jaws falls into the circus.
Yeah, well, and that's so. I didn't listen to the La La Land record, which I'm
Yeah,
sure breaks it
you have.
separate from.
Sometimes you're stuck with whatever album you have.
Yes, and on the official release that I had, it factors in the action theme into that as one piece of music. That's why I didn't choose it. That is one of my favorite uses of the Bond theme in the Moore era is when he's pushed out of the plane and it's the stuntman flying in really quickly as it's doing its big bombastic piece of music.
And then they ruin it with this
the circus music.
I hate it.
And that's the thing is that that happened in a good handful of John Barry Bond films where they had to do stupid music that just it's like watching a movie where they end it with a blooper reel and it's a serious film. Like, this is not how you end a movie. Yep. And it's frustrating. But Moonraker is a great score. Some people love the movie. For me, it just doesn't really work a ton.
I wish I loved this film. I don't.
That's the thing, is that this is the Star Wars Bond. We've talked about this. I would love to see the actual book Moonraker adapted with, a Nazi revenge plan.
Sure.
Rather than it just being a Goldfinger in space, basically. Or I guess The Spy Who Loved Me in space, basically.
Yeah, Spy Who Loved Me, or You Only Live Twice, but they actually do go to space. Yep.
Yeah. But it's a film that when people say I love it, I kind of give them a weird look for a quarter second, and then I go, okay, I get it. People are allowed to like what they like. There are worse Bond films that people can say this is my favorite. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, I try not to be that because I really don't want to put down people for their opinions. Everybody just has different tastes. But there are a couple of people that have posted opinions on because I read most of the comments for my videos still. I'm small enough that I can do that. Mm-hmm. But some of the opinions some people post on there, like, I have to do a Roger Moore eyebrow raise. It's like, really? Okay.
We will get to some of those films. Don't you worry.
Yes.
Now, our next film, I know this is your next one is your favorite score. Yeah. So this photo didn't come out the way I wanted it to, but I chose it because this is an edited version of the poster where they put pants on the lady, and they cite Utah. They cite Utah in the note is why they did it. And it's two guys who live here.
Inclined state alongside with Pennsylvania. They had to do it, and I think it's stupid.
It's stupid, but the pants. I saw it when I was going through last night, and I started chuckling. I'm like, I have to put this as our slide for the film. For Your Eyes Only, a film that we both enjoy quite a bit. I know you like it more than I do, but I still like this film quite a bit.
Sure.
The Bill Conti soundtrack for it, composed by Bill Conti, who did the Rocky films. Great score, but it's a massive juxtaposition between what came before it and after it, for me.
Yeah.
And I listening to it solo, I think I like it more outside of the film than I do within the film, personally.
Okay. Yeah, I can get that. I adore this score. I know it's divisive, and I'm not going to argue with anybody that really doesn't like it because I get it. But yeah, this is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's fun. It's a soundtrack that I think does energetic and fun, and then sad pretty well, which is not always consistent for the Bond films. Where usually they do one well.
And this is up there with Live and Let Die as being like one of the best films that integrates its main title theme in a very natural way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for me, my favorite track is Melina's Revenge.
Oh, that almost made mine.
It's really good. It's really good. This works in, it's a different sound. It's a little bit 80s funky or a little synthy for some bits, but also it has that kind of sports feeling. Which I think works, because this film, with the diving, with the element of the Olympics, with all the skiing in the film, I like that. I think it fits the tone pretty well. But Melina's Revenge is my number one track.
Yeah, that has one of my favorite bits in the score, when the Bond theme kicks in. My favorite is A Drive in the Country.
And it's fantastic. It's a fantastic piece of music.
Mm-hmm. I wish more Bond films would have as much fun as that Car Chase does.
You know what film could have used that as a fun thing? Spectre. Spectre could have used some fun music instead of it being dour and oversaturated. For my runner-up, I have the submarine music.
That also very nearly made my list. I had like 5 runner-ups for this thing. I chose Runaway.
Yeah, it's a great one. That's a fantastic one. Now, I know this is a soundtrack. It's probably hard for you to pick a least favorite here. Because this is least favorite. It's not bad.
Favorite, but I want to hear what you had.
I have Cortina.
Okay, I can get that.
It's just a little. It's a little too goofy for me, but it works because it's the music that plays when they get into the town. It's fine.
For me, it's Make It Last All Night. It's the source music behind the Gonzalez estate.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. Which I think a lot of people forget that part of the movie. That's supposed to be Mexico at that part of the film, isn't it? Or where's it supposed to be for that part? Oh, it's Cuba. Okay. I think a lot of people think it's still part of Greece and that part of Europe because the movie is so centric.
Because I'm sure they shot it in about the same place.
Probably. But yeah, no, I get that. Like, I guess it's the more kind of background music.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Bill Conti score, if people haven't listened to it because whatever reason, for me, For Your Eyes Only, I think this is the most TV movie Bond movie out of all of the official films. For me.
I can see that.
I remember seeing this on USA and TNT when I was a kid, and it has the production value of a TV movie a little bit because of the budget and the Moonraker stuff.
It has to be on cinema, but but there is something about the cinematography of it, just the visual presentation of it. And I think all the 80s Bond films suffer from this a little bit. They don't have the same glossiness of Spy Who Loved Me or Moonraker or Goldeneye in the 90s. It's just kind of a decade where it kind of felt a little drab in the visual style.
Well, I guess of the 80s films, which one feels the least flat? Because they all kind of have a little bit of flatness in the cinematography. Daylight's really.
Daylight's is my pick.
For me, it'd probably be Octopussy. I think Octopussy is the one that feels the least flat out of everything from the 80s.
The most flat would actually be my two favorite movies from this. Yeah, I mean, if we're not counting Never Say Never Again, but it would be For Your Eyes Only and License to Kill.
License to Kill is very flat looking.
To me.
Yeah. But moving on to the next film, so Bill Conti's soundtrack, if folks haven't listened to it, go listen to it. It's good. Octopussy, as our next film here, another Barry score. I think this might be my favorite of the Barry Moore years. For me.
It is mine.
I will get right into it. I think that the action music in this and that kind of fluty, whistling, kind of meandering sound, my favorite track for this is the palace fight at the end because it works in a lot of the Gobinda Attacks action music.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that feel, that suspenseful, kind of on pins and needles on strings sound, and it just works great for me in this film.
Yeah. Octopussy, to me, the reason that I love it most is, out of the more Barry scores, is because it demonstrates the power of the orchestra and it doesn't need anything else to go with it. And unlike Moonraker, its action music works with its action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I would also pick the action music. I chose specifically Gobinda Attacks, but the palace fight to me is virtually identical. So I don't know if you want to count that as a duplicate. But yeah, it's the action.
Yeah. I'm willing to count that because it does reuse a lot of the Gobinda Attacks because it works. On the official release that you gave me a while back, the Palace, and I didn't.
The Palace Fight is the best mixed of that single CD album. Yep.
And admittedly, I didn't count that version. I count the actual Palace Fight music because that version mastered on the official release from Eon and MGM. That also factors in the end of the movie sound, like the airplane fight, which I didn't factor that in. I'm just counting the palace stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic. And Gobinda Attacks is my runner-up because I think that the action music in Octopussy is utterly fantastic. What do you have as your runner-up?
That's my little Octopussy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All Time High is not one of my favorite songs, but as an instrumental, it's one of those just very lovely romantic pieces that I love in the score.
Well, and that's the thing, is that I think you can have a title track that you don't necessarily like and still have it work well within the film. And for me, I would agree. The All Time High is kind of like bust out a pillow and go to sleep. But when I hear it in the score, I like it quite a bit more than when I actually hear it as part of the titles.
Agreed.
For my least favorite, this is a running theme. I have Welcome to the Circus. Every time that there's circus music in a Bond film, I tune out.
I picked Let the Sport Commence. The safari sequence is my least favorite part of that film.
Is it because you were on the economy tour? Is that what it is?
Yes.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I have my gripes against that scene in particular, but just the song that goes with it, playing it very Safari sort of a thing, it leans into what I don't care for about that scene.
Yes.
And so that's why it's my least favorite.
Well, and I think that Bond escaping from the villa up until he gets on the tour boat has some of the least enjoyable parts of the movie for us as fans who enjoy what the movie does well. Between the like weird Hammer horror film zombie noises from when he wakes up out of the body bag, to the Tarzan screaming, to the sit, like all of that, I think kind of works against the film.
All the adventures with the animals, it has no consequence to me because they are just there for Bond to deal with. Yes. None of the bad guys have to deal with them at all, and so it really stands out to me.
I think it's winking at the audience too much with too many dated things. But now we're going from a score that we both enjoy quite a bit and going to one that we both don't enjoy at all, very, very little.
I do have picks from this that I do genuinely like, but if Dr. No is my least favorite official score, this is my least favorite score of anything Bond I've heard.
Sure. It's rough. It just, I don't think it works. Like, I've gone on record numerous times on our live shows, in your comments and other comments. For me, Never Say Never Again is never watch it ever again. And never listen to it ever again extends to the score. I don't think that there is basically anything of value here. I feel like I was taking pliers to my own teeth to try to figure out what I like. This was composed by Michael Legrand. And the only track in here that I thought that I liked was Tears of Allah. And even though I don't like it, I tolerate it. It's okay. It's generic. Okay. It's not offensive.
Yeah. When I did the Dissecting Bond review for this, the album was woefully underserving of the music within that. But also just, unless you tracked it down on eBay or whatnot, it was just really hard to get this. So I decided to substitute elevator music in for like the entire review. And that's just what it sounds like to me. I have since managed to grab a 2-hour long version, which has pretty much all the tracks from here.
I'm sorry.
And so if I ever do a compilation of Dissecting Bond that has Never Say Never Again in it, I will replace the score with the actual score. Yeah, my favorite track in here is Une chanson d'amour. Yeah, it's one of the only, I think the only, non-English language secondary songs within a Bond film. And I do think it plays into the atmosphere of the south of France with it. There's kind of a romantic thing to it that I think Michael Legrand does very well in his other scores. Probably my favorite. My runner-up would be Bond Back in Action, which is weird because it has the same title as the Goldfinger opening. That's not what it is. It's just the instrumental version of Never Say Never Again that plays when Bond comes into Shrublands.
For my runner-up, I have The Plunder of a Nuclear Missile. Again, it's another unoffensive, generic track.
Both of those are in my top 5 of the score.
Well, I mean, top 5 is like you're kind of struggling for a top 5. It's like you maybe top 3.5. For my least favorite, I have everything else besides what I listed. The Never Say Never Again theme is one of the most ear-grating pieces of music attached to a film that I think I have ever listened to. It's awful.
I'm glad some people derive enjoyment from it. I do not. That first chord of that song.
I want to find whoever likes that and ask them who hurt them. Because that is someone who has been injured in the past, but whether it's physically or internally. What is your least favorite? Is it the Never Say Never Again theme?
No, I avoided using the title theme because that's too easy. It's the big band Death of Jack Patachi.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with it, when Jack Patachi's driving away in the car after having hijacked the bombs, and then you have Fatima throw in the snake, the music that's playing there, that's probably my least favorite.
That's fair. Looking at our comments, we have some great comments about Never Say Never Again from Delonious Monk. I remember my first time watching Never Say Never Again and thinking I was having a stroke because it was Thunderball, but not knowing it was Thunderball. And then from Chicago Joe, in the late 80s, using 2 VCRs, I replaced the grand score with Barry Bond cues.
Yeah,
Since then, I've been more professional versions of score replacements on films.
You are not the first person to do that. I have yet to actually watch the film with that. I'm sure that would help.
It would help, but I just... Never Say Never Again is a film that
it would suddenly become a favorite film of mine, but it would make the experience more interesting.
Yes. Well, I think, obviously, we are doing a live show about the scores and soundtracks to these films. That is a pivotal part of what makes a Bond film is having a good score.
Yes.
Right? And without it, you just have another crappy spy movie. And to me, Never Say Never Again is another crappy spy movie.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to my least favorite official Bond film.
Another crappy spy movie.
A View to a Kill. And I chose this poster. I've always loved the back-to-back Bond and Mayday. I think it's fantastic. I like the idea that, Octopussy would have been a better way for them to, end the Roger Moore era. A View to a Kill, they marketed it so great. Like, retroactively looking back, the marketing for this film is fantastic. And then the movie's kind of like... It's kind of like a wet fart in a bathtub. Like it's, for me, it just doesn't work.
I can't quite agree with the marketing because it's all based off of the same idea. It's so...
Sure.
It's just like the one image for a lot of it, but also just looking at the rest of the posters, there's so little in the film to market that it feels very sparse for me. I like that image, but that's one image.
Sure. Well, and that's the thing, is that I am grasping at straws since I don't like the movie very much.
No, I don't care for it either. Some people have made it their life mission to convert me over, that they're going to win me over and say View to a Kill isn't that bad. I welcome the challenge because I would love nothing more than to actually be won over on a film like this, but it has yet to happen.
Before we get into it, Ross put in chat here that he does like the start of the Never Say Never Again theme, and no one has hurt him.
Yeah, well, Ross.
For me, the Barry score here, the second to last Barry score, I do think it overuses the A View to a Kill action suite too much. It is good, but I think that he took that from Octopussy of, I have an action theme that I can modify, but it feels like it's nearly the same iteration of it at every instance where they use it. And it appears in nearly every action action scene in the film. I do like it, but I think it's overused.
It is my favorite track, specifically the Snow Job version. But
I have Golden Gate Fight for mine.
But for me, just the overall score. Take out the action theme. Take out the instrumental title song. What else is there?
Nothing.
Not much.
Yeah.
Whereas even Octopussy, you could make that argument there. I just find the actual incidental music of Octopussy more interesting to listen to.
Yes. Well, because you have a lot of the little flute interludes that play for stuff, and this film doesn't have that. It feels like it goes right into the A View to a Kill, or it goes into the action suite. And then I do like we have the love music, which is A View to a Kill. So yeah, my number one. Sorry.
Yeah, my runner-up is Wine with Stacy. So,
and that is also my runner-up there. So I will mark that here. And again, we both like the action music, but it's overused. I'm not going to count that as a crossover because we have two different instances of the action music.
Well,
but it's the action music.
If we counted it for Octopussy,
that's fair.
I feel like we should count it here.
And it's funny because we both have the first instance of it in the film and the last instance of it in the film for both of us. So
yes.
I'm kind of cheating for this, but my least favorite is the jacuzzi. It's called Jacuzzi Source. It's the music. It's like the Oriental music that plays when Bond and the Soviet agent are in the jacuzzi.
I had a tie between that and the Butterfly Show, but
the Butterfly Show was kind of jarring. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be the jacuzzi score, but also with the scene it's attached to. I know it's funny to some people. I don't. It's cringy to me.
And the Butterfly Show music, I did go back to A View to a Kill yesterday just to kind of finalize some stuff. And when that came on, I'm like, I don't love this, but I still like it more than the jacuzzi music.
Fair enough.
But this score, I don't think it's bad. I just think it's kind of kind of flat. You know, it's good, but it's the same stuff for the entire film. It doesn't have a whole lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, I don't have a problem if some people are like, Snow Job or Wine with Stacy is some of their favorite Barry scores tracks. Fine, but I mean, if you take the entire score, because I've heard some people say that like this is their favorite Barry score, and I'm like, the entire score out of everything Barry's done,
exactly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't get that. For me, it's
I don't get it.
And I'll say this: I'm a huge Duran Duran fan, so like the View to Kill title track works well for me when they utilize it. But as a Duran Duran fan, it's not even like one of my favorite pieces of their music here.
Sure.
So we have Hunka Crab here, who said he hasn't really seen any of the Bond films since he was a kid. Maybe we need to revisit some. Hunka Crab, we got to do some watch parties in the Discord server. I'll tell you what, I am happy to stream Bond films. I've done it in Steven's server over the last 6 months. I think was when we started doing it a while ago. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to do it in more places, whether it's his server, my server. We really can't do it on YouTube just because of reasons, but we can do it in the private Discord server just fine. So, A View to a Kill, a film that neither of us particularly likes. It has some stuff we like, but for me, the stuntmen in every single action scene kills it for me. Mm-hmm. And I think the end of the movie, it's like they should have ended with Octopussy. I think Roger Moore wasn't ready to give up Bond yet, is what it comes down to.
That's what I
think. But this leads into one of our favorite films, and that is The Living Daylights. And this is my favorite Barry score for the entire series that he did. This might be my favorite soundtrack in the franchise. I don't know. There's some strong contenders coming up. But for me, this is what I think of when I think of Bond and Barry. I think of the action music and the synthy sounds from this film.
I couldn't agree more.
It's fantastic. And for me, I'll hop right into it. If you haven't seen Living Daylights and you're watching, you should go watch Living Daylights. The film has some problems, but it's very good. The soundtrack works wonderfully in this film between the score that is overt and diegetic music. I think the diegetic music in this film works very, very well. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to be probably tied for our start because it's going to be a similar theme of the action music, but I have Ice Chase as being my favorite track from the film.
I did runner up. That was my runner up.
Okay. So what's your number one then?
Mujahideen and Opium. It is
really
so beautiful. And then
it is a great track.
And then in the second part where it delves into that very wonderfully espionage version of Where Has Everybody Gone? I love that whole track. But there's so much good stuff here. Sniper Was a Woman, Koskov Escapes, Necros Attacks, Hercules Takes Off. There's so much.
And you touched on Hercules Takes Off. That is my runner-up, but that might be a tie for my number one. I really love when we get to have the Living Daylights title track worked in, and then I love the synthy Bond theme. I love the exercise at Gibraltar, like the start of the film.
Yes.
I love that entire slow build-up with how it works in the film, but also as a standalone piece of music. I'm a big fan of the atmospheric stuff just to listen to. And the Living Daylights score is one that there's nothing that's really like a miss for me, aside from one track that I know that you like more than I do.
Okay.
Which is If There Was a Man. I'm not a huge fan of that. It doesn't really work for me.
And for me, it's the other one. Where Has Everybody Gone? The actual track itself, I don't dislike it because this is the major score. I would say there is no such thing as a bad track.
Sure.
But of all of them, this is the one I go back to the least.
Well, and that kind of goes to show that it's two vocal tracks in the album for us.
Like the actual underscore for the thing, I don't have it.
Great.
Down.
Yeah, when Necros Attacks is part of that, is part of it, and it's fantastic with how it's worked in with the diegetic music for his headphones. And again, this is one of those films where it's like John Barry was firing on cylinders for his last Bond film.
And it was unfortunate because nobody, even him, assumed that it was going to be his last Bond film. Yeah,
but it's wonderful. Living Daylights. I mean, I've got a photo here. I liked the movie enough. I bought a watch. That's the same one that very similar model to what Dalton wears. And this is one of those films that if I could rearrange a couple of things, this would be my favorite Bond film. But the soundtrack, it's easily my favorite Barry score. It's probably my favorite up until we get to the Brosnan era for all of the soundtracks. I think it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I really do also like Living Daylights, the title track, which we're not including this here, but I think that's a great title track, and it also works wonderfully in the film.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the best used in the Barry catalog. And I will say to you, to agree with you on the film, you and I have said that several times. Just that film is 3 tweaks away
Yes.
from being, to me, the perfect Bond film. It is so close.
Well, I mean, truthfully, we can get into it real briefly here. They need to trim down the number of villains in the film. I think that's what it is.
That's the major thing for me. I think the film runs a little long. I think you can trim down that runtime a little bit. And this one, I know not everybody agrees with me. I don't care for Bond and Kara as much as everybody else does.
Yeah, same.
I like it in concept. I just don't particularly enjoy watching them together as much as some of the other Bond relationships. If you tweak those 3 things to be just slightly better, it's funny because this isn't even in my top 10 Bond films. It's number 11. It's so close. But those 3 things bring it down enough. If you tweak those, I am happy to put this at the top.
I would say I agree with all 3 of your gripes. And I think that for Kara to be as good as people say that character is, we need to have one more scene where she is remorseful about turning Bond in to Koskov in between Mujahideen.
I just need her to not be so helpless for about the first hour and a half of the movie.
Yeah, it's not until she hops on a horse and grabs an AK and says, "We're going to go save my man."
But it happens way too late in the film.
Oh, it's jarring. We have this lady who's otherwise been kind of a pushover for the entire film. She's like, "Okay, we're grabbing an AK. We're going to go." You know.
I have moments like that earlier, where she doesn't have to do exactly that, but if she could charge just a little bit more and doesn't feel so subservient. Yeah, fine.
That even leads to when she's in the Jeep going after Bond in the C-130, and she's like, "James!" And he's like, "Oh, fuck." Yeah, look at... It's one of those things where like, okay, it doesn't make any sense. Why is she acting so aloof when she's driving the truck after she's shot and killed all these people? But alas, this score, one of the best, top 3, maybe top 2, I don't know. It's out there. It's very good.
Yeah. If you've seen my other videos, you know how I feel about this, but we'll get to that.
Yep.
Anywho.
So our next one, we're moving into the second Timothy Dalton film, License to Kill by Michael Kamen for the score.
The second happiest I have ever been of La La Land Records stuff, because this and Moonraker desperately needed it.
And I think this is a score that it doesn't work as well for me as I know it does for you. I like the score. I think it works for the film. And I know we've kind of touched on that here and there. Like, does the score work alone or with the film or both? I think this is a score that works better for me within the confines of the film than it does outside of the film.
I would agree with that.
And Ross put in chat here, please touch on the gun barrel music for License to Kill. I do like that kind of twangy Spanish guitar we get for the gun barrel. I think it's very good. For me, my favorite is the track, and this is right at the start of the film, I Want Sanchez Alive. That is my favorite track for the film.
Okay.
And it just works for me, because it's kind of atmospheric, it's got a little bit of action, a little bit of tenseness to it. It's very similar to what plays at the end with the truck chase.
Sure. Yeah. To me, it's Truck Chase.
Yep. That's a good one. I mean, the truck chase, the truck chase is one of those things that I think is kind of nonsensical, but I like it. I'm okay with that. It works fine. This is a film that has tonal issues, and as I've learned to kind of just be okay with the tonal issues, I've enjoyed it more. But I mean, the action music in this film is fantastic.
It is.
It's up there.
And I think part of that is because Michael Kamen is a rock musician. It's funny because I generally don't care for his movie scores, period. I think his score for X-Men is very dull. Nobody talks about the score for Die Hard or any of those other things. But License to Kill is the exception for me. And I feel like part of that is because it's a Bond film. But part of it is exemplified in my runner-up. Just that Latin influence and the atmosphere that is created for a lot of these tracks that nobody else other than me cares about. The assassination attempt when Bond puts together the signature gun.
It's great. It's great.
From the Bond theme. That has always hit me just right. I'm like, yes, that is perfect. I love it.
Well, I think that the atmospheric music works very well in this film because this is a very moody film. throughout parts of it. My runner-up, I have Escape the Wave Crest, which is off the official release. I'm sure it's probably broken into 2 or 3 smaller tracks for the La La Land record release.
Well, yeah, the official release, it's unfortunate because they take like 14 cues, put it together in like 6 tracks.
And it's like 7 or 8 minutes long. It's fairly lengthy.
So if we're going off of the original album release, it would just be license revoked, pretty much everything from there.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But the La La Land records, that does break it up. And so it is its own track of Escape the Wave Crest. So
yeah. But that piece, I mean, that entire, again, the action theme, I like that it's different throughout parts of the film. Where it might be a little bit more heavy on the guitar, it might be a little bit more heavy on the bass, it might be a little bit heavier on the drums or the Latin influences. And I think about Bond skiing with the airplane. And what's playing through there with that iteration of the Bond theme, which again I think is unique enough that I'm fine counting it for what we're doing here.
Sure.
And I think that License to Kill works best when the action music is going. And for me, some of the softer music is where I lose a little bit of it because it kind of feels generic at certain points. And I'll kind of dovetail that into my least favorite, which is the Miss Kennedy track.
Okay.
Which I believe plays during the way too early love scene on the boat that leads into meeting at the bank in Infamous City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pam theme, which I know not everybody loves. I do, but I can concede that it's not a particularly inspired piece. My least favorite is Dirty Love.
Sure.
Which is the piece that plays in the bar. I think this movie goes a little overboard with some of the extra incidental music. I almost put the Fury Lease bit that plays towards the end of the film, but like this one, I have never liked listening to this track from beginning to end.
Sure. I'm kind of more okay with it because it kind of slightly feels a little diegetic within the bar. Like it makes sense, but as many people have complained, License to Kill kind of feels like it's a Miami Vice Die Hard style thing. The bar fight amplifies that, but also every time I watch the movie, the bar fight is like a high point. It's really fun.
I like
so
the
I'm a little bit softer. Well, when I watched it with my wonderful girlfriend Kaylee for the first time, 6 months ago, and there's the part where it's the lady stripping in the bar, even though it's not a strip club or a strip bar, and fighting with the giant fish while the lady's like dancing around it. I'm a little bit softer on some of the bar fight music that plays during there, but it is not. I would agree, because the piece of music I chose, technically it's part of the Pam theme, but it's specifically the bit that plays right after the bar fight. On the official release I listened to, it is the bar music, and then it is that. Yep. And those were kind of like runner-ups for the bottom. But otherwise, I mean, I generally like the score for this film. And I would agree that I've listened to a lot of the Michael Kamen stuff for other things, and I'm like, it's kind of hit or miss, kind of generic.
I like him so much better when he's working with Metallica.
Yes. Hey, and we've talked about that. Yeah. It's a great album.
It's we've talked about Metallica in this. Wow.
And for those that don't know, Michael Kamen was part of the composer for, that was S&M, right?
S&M, but he worked with them on a few songs beforehand, most notably Nothing Else Matters. The mix that we have on the Black Album really downplays the orchestral version that he provided, but it is certainly there. He provided a very wonderful backing to it, and I think it's been released on a couple of extra things, and I think it's called like the Elevator version.
I think since Metallica re-released all of their stuff under their own record label like the last 7 or 8 years, I think that they've upped the orchestral elements and Nothing Else Matters.
Okay.
If you get one of the blackened record ones.
Yeah, I'm still listening to the original mixed version from when did that album come out? 91?
91? Yeah, so it's I think that was Sony or whoever. Yeah, Metallica's record label Blackened, they went out and did their own re-release of Injustice for All and bumped up the bass.
Good.
Which is, that album needed it because that's my favorite Metallica album. So that's a story for a different time. License to Kill, good album or good soundtrack. Film, I like it. It's not my top, but I don't understand the people who dislike it, but also I have my own gripes with it. The next film, though, great film, soundtrack, not so much. We're on Goldeneye. The Eric Serra soundtrack, the two things I will say. So Eric Serra, French composer, he did the soundtrack to Leon the Professional the year before this, And that soundtrack is basically the same thing as this one, except there's some Bond music in this. There's some of the Bond theme. I don't like the Goldeneye soundtrack.
Yeah, I would say Leon the Professional provided 75% of this music.
Mm-hmm. And the other 25% was parts.
The other 25% is the tank chase and a bit of Bond tweaking by Sarah. Other than that, it feels so copy-paste to me.
It's you can't forget someone farting on a bass guitar as part of the soundtrack for this film,
which is actually not my least favorite track from this film.
Really, I guess we also have I have a runner-up for least bad, and that is the fart bass. But my favorite thing, which I'm sure is the same as yours, is the Goldeneye overture.
Correct.
That plays at the start of the film. So I will put a tally down here. The Goldeneye overture. If you have watched Goldeneye and you've watched the first 10 minutes of the film, you have heard this piece of music. This is the as far as I'm concerned, it's like one of the only properly good things to come out of the score.
Yep.
And it's frustrating because Goldeneye is a film that we both love, right? Yeah, I think it's generally liked by most of the Bond fandom. For people who I've seen who don't like it as much, they think it's a little generic. But, you know, again, I understand that. If people have that opinion. The music certainly holds it back. If the music was better, people would like this movie a lot more, I think. Mm-hmm. My runner-up is the Severnaya suite that plays... Okay. I want to say in the film it plays after it's been destroyed, and Natalia is having to go through the rubble, is what it is as part of it. And I like that I think that's a good piece. And again, that is some Leon the Professional stealing, but I think it works well for the context of all of my coworkers are dead. I'm stuck in the middle of the wilderness. I think it works well for the film.
It's tragically appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
My runner-up is Run, Shoot, Jump. This plays two different bits. It plays during the archives, and it plays during the finale when Trevelyan's going out to try to fight Bond on the cradle. I love this piece of music.
Mm-hmm. It's good. I think it, again, when I think of Goldeneye, I think of the overture and I think of that. But when I was listening to the album by itself, I preferred the Severnaya suite in a vacuum of just the tracks by themselves. But I will say, the archives and all of that, when it plays there, when it plays as part of the end of the film, it's fantastic. Least favorite, and I don't say, let me take it back, worst, because this is not least favorite, because this is not our favorite.
This to me is the worst song that has ever been in a Bond film.
And I will mark down my thing. It is The Experience of Love. Yes. It is awful. It is awful. I mean, like, awful. Capital A, awful.
I have only ever listened to it in my life from beginning to end twice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I forced myself to do it. I hate this song.
Well, it's like the number of times that I have watched the film, or you have watched it, or I have streamed it for people.
I cut
the credits. The second that it pans up and the helicopter, it's like, hey, off, no more. It's awful. Ross put in chat here that he likes Whispering Statues. That was actually my second runner-up, was what I had for the score. Too. I actually like it more in the game than I do in the film, which is how it is for a lot of the music. I mean, we can't talk about it without talking about the game. The game has a better soundtrack as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny. Good. It's funny to me because I marked that soundtrack down for like most of the tracks just being remixes of the Bond theme, but that's only just like an observation more than like putting it down, because when they're all that good,
yes,
oh my gosh.
I will do a runner-up for bottom, and that is Ladies First, which is the fart-based music that plays during the car chase. As I always joke, it's the fart music. If you listen to it, the bass line, it kind of sounds like if someone listened to Primus and said, hey, what if we had someone that had no talent playing bass that tried to play Primus? That's kind of what the start of the that feels like to me.
Yeah.
And you run it through Video Toaster for your sound editing, and it's not good.
Nope.
It's a shame. Now, the next film, we are moving on to what could be my favorite soundtrack in the entire series, possibly, and that is Tomorrow Never Dies. And I specifically have here, so I am a nerd. I bought the watch that Bond wears in the film. I have my little model car. And then I have my original CD release of Tomorrow Never Dies, which I pulled out of my truck after my rollover accident last year. I didn't get the CD, but I got the case. And Steven very kindly got me the La La Land record album version of Tomorrow Never Dies, which is currently living in the current car, which is currently unflipped too. And I love this score. I love this movie. I love a lot of things about this. But this is one that David Arnold knocked it out of the park for his first soundtrack for the series.
Yeah, except for Dr. No and From Russia with Love, I don't think there has ever been such a flip for me on you go from one soundtrack at the bottom towards near the top. This is a magnificent first try from Arnold. It is
wonderful. It's awesome. This is one that for picking the list, it wasn't hard for me to pick a favorite. Picking a least favorite, because it is a least favorite, it's not worse. His least favorite is there. Yes. But this is one of those scores where I can't quantify this or qualify this, but Arnold was a fan of the Bond series prior to this, and he went into it with an understanding of what he thought Bond should sound like, and it wasn't that it was a job for hire, it was a thing that he wanted to do, and I think that's why it works so well, because this feels like a score made by someone who understood what they were doing. Yeah. Not that the other composers didn't, but it was more directed.
Yeah, it wasn't just a case of he liked some of the music, and that pretty much relegates itself to the Bond theme and the title songs. No, he was a fan that understood what Barry was doing and what a lot of the others were doing, and he actively pursued this. One version that I heard, he has confirmed that he got to see a print of the Goldeneye teaser, and was like, "Who do you have on the score for this?" And they had already contacted Eric Serra, and he's like, "Please remember me for the next film, if you will." And then there are 2 or 3 other stories of how he got. But whatever the case, this man lobbied for the job, and once he got it, he put his heart and soul into this.
Yeah, and it shows. This is one where it is so. And I say this, I like all of Arnold's soundtracks for the Bond films, even the ones that I like less. I still like them quite a bit.
Sure.
This is one that feels so intelligent. It feels like it was like extra work put into every little bit of it. And for me, my favorite track is Backseat Driver. It's hard to beat that as an action theme. Let me mark that here. As we have discussed, you have heard me pontificate about it plenty of times, and it came up in your video from yesterday about the action scenes. The Backseat Driver Hamburg Garage is my favorite scene in any Bond film, bar none. I think it takes everything I like and want out of a Bond film. And what I think the franchise is trying to do, and distills it into a 4-minute long chunk of film with a wonderful piece of music playing over it. And I love it. That scene walks on water, can do no harm, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That is also my pick. Did you have as much trouble picking a runner-up as I did?
I didn't, but I cheated.
Okay.
So, of course, I have the La La Land record extended edition that you got me. And I have the Hamburg Break-In and then the Action Suite after it. Ooh, because to me it flows into it's 2 tracks, but I had the same thing with World Is Not Enough, where they directly flow into each other. And to me, you can't have one without the other. It's like listening to Green Day and hearing what Brain Stew without the first part. Like I need to have both. And for me, it's the Hamburg Break-In and then the action scene with Waylon like running down the thing and all of that. That's my runner-up for me.
I had a tough time deciding between Surrender,
which is fantastic.
Probably going to be my pick for the runner-up. But I also love Company Car.
Company Car is great, and the extended version that plays, fantastic.
This is
it's fantastic.
It's always been to me, if I ever hosted a housewarming party and it was supposed to be a James Bond thing, this would be the thing playing.
Because it's atmospheric, it's moody, it has the Bond theme, it has the Arnold theme, it has the Surrender theme.
It has such a timeless style about it.
Yes.
And it sounds fantastic. I just adore it.
And again, Company Car would probably be on here if my runner-up list was allowed to have 14 more positions, and it would be I would have half the score.
Yeah, there's too many here. Hamburg Break-In was certainly one. Escape from the Printing Press was one. Ha Long Bay. It has a really lovely version of Surrender that I love.
How Long Bay is my least favorite, but again, least favorite. I had to pick one.
Yeah,
And I will say this, obviously this is not a thing that was in contention. I do like the Sheryl Crow Tomorrow Never Dies song. I like the titles, I like the song, I think it works well. Do I like Surrender more? No, but I think Surrender works better in the film, so like I still like them both. How Long Bay is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is like a put down. I had to pick something that I wouldn't go back to. There are other pieces of music in that full extended album that I would go to first.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
My least favorite was the bike shop fight.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That probably has to do with it's my least favorite action scene in the film. So
sure.
I just
and there's a lot. There's a lot of action in that movie.
There's a lot of action in the movie, which I know is some people's problem with it, is that it moves so much at a clip that it's like hard to really calm down and focus on its story. But yeah, the bike shop fight, it's the least good.
That's fair. Looking at our comments here, we have my man Dylan saying, hard agree on Tomorrow Never Dies. He's a big Tomorrow Never Dies fan. And Chicago Joe, TND is my favorite Brosnan and Bond, my favorite Arnold Bond score. Bond in Paris, White Knight, All in a Day's Work, Surrender, and the extended version of Surrender are his favorites. Yep. And he's hoping that maybe Arnold comes back for the next Bond film. I don't know if that's going to happen, but...
I think it's very likely, since it's Denny V who likes to reuse people, I think it's very likely Zimmer's going to come back for a second one.
Which we'll get to Zimmer here in a bit, but we'll discuss ideas there.
Yeah, but if they were to ask me, who do you think should come back? I'm like, give Arnold a blank check and have him come back. We need
AI John Barry. No, just kidding.
No, don't do that.
I'm kidding. I no. So Tomorrow Never Dies, fantastic score. I love the movie enough that I've got it, framed poster over here, watch, soundtrack over here. My Life for Tomorrow Never Dies. The next film, The World Is Not Enough. And this is a score that I have my copies of, a couple of copies of Nightfire here, because I think that The World Is Not Enough score is what kind of led to like the next handful of years of Bond soundtracks through Arnold, where I think that, truthfully, everything, World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day, and Casino Royale are all kind of inspired by The World Is Not Enough. For me, that's what I pick up when I listen to the notes. Quantum is its own thing, which is, we'll get to that. But I think that The World Is Not Enough is a very good soundtrack, but I do like it less than Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay, fair enough. I would agree with you on that, and I have the La La Land Records version here too, and it had a couple of cues that I was just dying to have from this film. Mm-hmm. It's not quite as good. I think Arnold starts to lean a little too heavy on the electronics for my take.
Yes.
He'll make that worse in the next film.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that he still doesn't really love the Bond themes and knows how to do them.
Mm-hmm. And I think that leads into it that there are some elements of this movie where the score doesn't work for me, but a lot of it does. And again, I kind of cheated again here by taking two tracks where one's an interlude that leads into the actual one.
I know what you're talking about. Go for it.
And it's the start of the film. It's the Show Me the Money, come in 007, your time is up. I think that works wonderfully. And again, another great action set piece. It's got a great lead-in, the suspense, the music, the Bond theme. I like the little cues that play as part of that. Even when he's underwater adjusting his tie for a gag, we have a little cue for it. And I think it works wonderfully.
That is my runner-up. Come in 007, your time is up.
Mm-hmm. So what do you have as your number one then?
Welcome to Baku.
That's a fantastic piece of music.
There are two pieces for this. The original film version, it's good. It wouldn't be my favorite. The one that was on the original album, which thankfully they kept as an alternate track here on the La La Land Records version with the female vocalist.
Yes.
I adore it.
Yes, and that's my runner-up. So we were flip-flopped for this.
Yeah. It's really close. All right.
Because we get a little bit of The World Is Not Enough. We kind of get an ever slight hint of the Electra theme in there. We get the Bond going to a new area and getting the Bond theme a little bit.
This is another, if you listen to the non-electronic stuff that really grates on some people, this is another very intelligent score.
100%. Now, picking a least favorite, and I would say that this is one that I don't like, just because I don't care much for a lot of what happens near the end of the film.
Okay.
I have Christmas in Turkey as my least favorite track on the album.
Okay.
It just doesn't really work for me because I don't buy the relationship, and the music doesn't really work for me with that. I will say runner up for bottom, and this might be a controversial take. I don't like the Caviar Factory action music. I think it's way too electronic, and I also don't like that action scene very much either.
Okay, well, I do. Yeah, if I had to pick actual score, it would probably be the submarine music.
Sure.
But since we are doing albums, we are doing alternate songs, I have to be in the right mood for Only Myself to Blame.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. I love it as a theme to Elektra.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it as a Scott Walker song.
Sure. Well, and that's my thing. This is one of my issues with The World Is Not Enough. I don't buy Elektra. I get that she's meant to be manipulative, and she does all of that. I don't like Reynard as a character. And not like he's a villain that works well. I just don't think it's a villain that was executed great in the script. Because he's set up to be the villain for the first half of the film, and he's just a glorified henchman. I don't know. World Is Not Enough is a film I loved a lot when I was 10, but now that I'm 30, I'm a little... You know, and the score is good. I think that I like the first half of the score for the film more than the second half.
I would agree with that.
Like once like Davidoff is gone, that's when I'm like, it goes down a bit. So I do want to mention the casino music. I do think the casino music is very good too.
Yes.
With the Elektra theme and this, that ambient Bond music that we don't get as much as we'd like to see in the films.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. On to even more electronic music. We have Die Another Day.
Yeah. Die Another Day was the first of the expanded soundtracks that we ever got.
Mm-hmm.
And the story behind that is they actually reached out to David Arnold about the possibility of doing one of his scores. And he still has his masters from this soundtrack. So there are a number of tracks that we don't actually have from the film. We just have his version of it, which is 95% of the film.
Sure.
And I'll point out one instance of it because it is one of my selections for this one. But I think Arnold went way too heavy on the electronics for this, and
absolutely
lands up some stuff.
Well, and that's the issue, is that a lot of it, and I think that they did it on, he composed it, and I think that they kind of wanted that because the editing is very choppy at certain points towards the latter half of the film. I think about the ice chase, where it's like the camera does like the zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, like quick cuts.
It's known as vamping.
Yes.
Or ramping. It's one of those two. Somebody actually cued me into what it was. But Lee Tamahori, the late Lee Tamahori, rest in peace, he did have an idea of what he wanted to do with this. I think Barbara and Michael were very keen to have something that felt more contemporary. The problem was The Bourne Identity came out the same year, and they got to look at it, and they're like, crap, we should have done that.
And I like a lot of the score, but I think it is hurt by the electronic element that also feels like it impacted the idea of choppier for editing. My number one is the hovercraft chase. I do think I like Die Another Day is a film that people always say, well, the first half's great, second half's not. I like a lot more of the second half than I think most people would. But the hovercraft chase and the music that plays there and just how it works with the scene, I think works better than a lot of the second half of the film.
Yes.
For how the movie integrates in the music. But hovercraft chase is my number one.
Yeah. Not surprisingly, my picks are mostly from the first half as well. My pick is Kiss of Life.
Oh, yeah.
So starting from the conversation that Bond and M have, all the way through to the dark version of the Bond theme when Bond walks into the hotel. I love that track.
Oh, it's fantastic. Again, moody, atmospheric, it works. My runner-up, and this is kind of from a goofier part of the film, but it's the Escape Artist on Ice.
Okay.
when he's doing the surfing, it doesn't the scene does not work, but the music works regardless of the scene for me.
I had thought about having that as my least favorite, but then I did the same thing. I went back and listened to it. And I'm like, actually, the music's fine.
Yeah, it's just when we don't have Pierce Brosnan doing CGI windsurfing on an exploding iceberg, like, it's fine.
Yeah. My runner-up is the Cuba music.
It is very good. I do like when Arnold does... He does locale music very well, I think.
Yeah. I do love the Welcome to Cuba track we got, and I love the first instance when Bond comes into Havana. But specifically, I always pick the Cuban car because it has the best of what makes the Cuba thing work, but then it has one of my favorite natural integrations of the Bond thing into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if Escape Artist on Ice was a runner-up for bottom... What is your actual bottom pick?
Okay, so this is going to be a little weird, but like you have to have the expanded edition of the score, or have listened to it to know what I'm talking about. So there's a track called Gustav Graves' Grand Entrance. The first half starts off with a very traditional Bond theme, which is not used in the film. This plays in the film when Graves comes into London.
The parachutes in, yeah.
Yeah, so you have the London calling music. So when he comes in, the film, we have an orchestral version, which sounds fine.
Yeah.
The version that's on the expanded album is so over electronic produced that I hate it. I hate it so much. There's a reason I have never played this bit of music in any of my videos.
I listened to that yesterday because the copy I found was, I think I found the La La Land, like a rip someone put online. And I didn't hate it.
It is terrible.
Well, I didn't hate it, but I would have hated it in the film.
Oh,
and for me, though, I was stuck between the sword fighting, like the Madonna fencing sword fighting music.
Okay.
But I ended up picking the music that plays when Moneypenny is having her VR porn experience with Bond. And it's called what's it? I have it here. Moneypenny's Virtual Dream is what it's called. And the music is not very good because it's like, I don't think this film has like a good love theme. It doesn't really have a great one throughout it.
I want to make a joke about virtual being one. The starting letter is off by one. It should start with a W. But yeah, no, I don't like that scene either.
Yeah, the scene's not great. The music that plays over it is generic and kind of bad. I have to imagine that it was like, well, this movie has 85 things trying to happen, and the soundtrack's going to feel schizophrenic trying to attach itself to it. But I will say that the Die Another Day music, like the score is not awful. I think it's Arnold's worst Bond soundtrack, but I still think it's better than like a lot of the other entries in the series. I don't hate it, personally.
That is exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's not one that... I mean, I can't lie to you. You burned a copy of this for me a while ago that's like the original release. And I have listened to it a handful of times and I like it. I will go down in flames as this. I like the Madonna song. I dropped my Sharpie. But no, the Madonna song, they don't really use it a ton throughout the film because David Arnold's like, nah. And Madonna...
he was starting with his own theme and then abandoned it partway through.
Well, and the funny thing, for a little bit of trivia for our fans out there, Die Another Day, the Madonna song, was the only song that topped the charts off of that album that she released it on, because the album otherwise was very bad. Because it was an anti-Iraq war album done by Madonna, which does not work.
Yeah.
But sorry?
Before we get out of Brosnan, I do want to mention the specific Bond themes that were composed for his promotional films. So you have the Goldeneye trailer music. I didn't include that because that isn't part of the album. That's not part of the score.
But it's fantastic.
The Moby theme, I know you don't care for as much.
I hate it so much.
I think it runs a little long, but I do like it. Mm-hmm. But I specifically wanted to mention the Bond versus Oakenfold. The reason that's not here is because it's not in the film. It is on the first album. I just like some of the cues a little bit more, but it's a really solid version of the Bond theme to me.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're out of Brosnan. I will say that the Everything or Nothing game has some elements of Arnold in there. It is our fifth Brosnan film as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, to me that is the actual end of the classic Bond era.
I still don't know that the mad lad who went up to Willem Dafoe and said, "Hey, can you sign this giant poster of Everything or Nothing?" But there's a fan for everything.
Yes, there is.
I bought it, so I guess I'm part of the problem. Our next one, I would say, I'm on the fence. I think that Casino Royale, composed by David Arnold, is... If I had to take off my fan and go into, like, fan hat and put on, like, the objective hat, this might be the best score in the series as, like, an objective look at the films, which is not a thing you can really do, but also I think it's really intelligent.
You know
I
how
think it's
much
done
I
so
hate.
well.
You know how much I hate that expression. If I put on my objective hat, or objectively speaking, this is good. I have a lot of issues with that, but I understand where you're coming from with this.
It's not my favorite. I think it does a lot wonderfully. It's just that I think it's probably this. I don't know if I want to say
this is the most intelligent score to me.
I think the Quantum score is smarter, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah.
But this is fantastic score. I think it works great for the film. I think it works great on its own. It is awesome.
Yeah, this score means a lot to me, not just because of the film it's tied to, although that's part of it, but my very first Bond ever album was the 2002 Best of Bond James Bond compilation, which had all the title songs except for Die Another Day at that point. But the first proper Bond soundtrack album I ever got was Casino Royale. And I got it for Christmas that year. And I also happened to get, this is neither here nor there, I also happened to get an iPod Nano that same Christmas. So not really by design, but this ended up being the first thing I ever put onto an iPod. And now I continue to walk around with digital copies of my music everywhere I go, thanks to having a phone. But I had an iPod on my person as like my fourth thing. I have my keys, I have my phone, I have my wallet, and I have my iPod for like the better part of 15 years. And finally the iPods have died. So now my phone doubles as my iPod.
But, I mean, what a score to have as the first one to burn onto a digital device, right?
Yeah.
This is one that I struggled to find a least favorite. I think this is one that does action great. I think it intertwines in the title track, maybe the best in the entire series. It does a love theme very well. It does suspense. It does build up. It does different locale music, where when we're in the Caribbean and in Florida, it sounds different than when we're in Madagascar, which sounds different than Casino Royale. I think it's very intelligent. It's very well done. And picking favorites and least favorites was very hard for me.
Yes, because I know this score almost as much as as well as I know any other of my favorite movie scores. I've listened to it so many times.
This is one where picking a favorite, there were two toss-ups I had for my favorite, but I had to pick the one that I think I like better in the context of the film. But I also do like it better as a solo track, and it's very long. And I don't have a super extended copy of the album, but I do have the version that's on streaming. That is the official, like it's like 40 tracks. It's pretty lengthy, and I have the Miami International as my favorite track from the film.
Okay.
And it's a long piece. I don't know if it's broken up more in the extended versions.
It's not.
But it's
still all of its 12 or 13 minutes.
Yes. And I like it because I think it starts from when Bond gets out of the taxi going into the airport to when the bomber is blown up. And I like how much happens there. The action there, that kind of like bombastic archipelago, like stepping sounds. I think it works great. It's atmospheric, it's moody, it's actiony. It has a little bit of everything that I like out of the Casino Royale soundtrack. But again, picking that, like, it was hard. It was hard.
It really was hard. I struggled to pick a least favorite, but we'll get to that. My very favorite is probably Dinner Jackets.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. That is one of the smoothest versions of the Bond theme I've ever heard. It still has the You Know My Name as part of it, and of course it opens with Vesper's theme, which the actual Vesper's theme is one of my candidates for the runner-up, but I almost didn't think to include it because it's included in Dinner Jackets.
Yep.
But
It's
this to me is a much smaller track.
Mhm.
You know, it's only like 2 minutes. Everything you love about the Miami International, to me, Dinner Jackets includes everything I love about
Yes.
the Royale score,
Hmm.
minus the action.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that a lot of what I like about Casino Royale is the small bits. I like a lot of the interludes. I like so my runner up, and I have two runner ups, but the actual runner up is Blunt Instrument, where it's
That's
moody
right.
for the first half, and then the second half where it's Bond in his zoot suit getting off the airplane and then getting in the rental car, and it's so bombastic. We have the "You Know My Name" playing, and it is perfect. It's like we have a confident
Yes.
Bond going to do something. And I think it works great. I think it's awesome. And the runner up I have is actually it's even shorter. It's like 30 seconds, but it's just I'm the money. And
Yep.
it's the music that plays as we get the overhead shot of the train going into Casino Royale. And again, it combines a lot of what I like about the film, about the confidence for the first 2 hours of the film. That's that supreme confidence that Bond has as a character that I think goes into the score too.
Yeah. So Vesper was one of my two picks for runner up. The other one is The Name is Bond, James Bond.
Yep. Yeah. I mean that's a hard one to beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
it's uh,
So
it's something that unfortunately the film, the next couple of films
yeah,
decided to take the ideas of that and not use the Bond theme.
I
Least
think that
favorite
is
is
the
hard.
biggest. I think that is the biggest misstep of the Craig films musically, is for each of them to downplay the Bond theme, and
Well,
that is so wrong.
until we get to No Time to Die, but we'll talk
Until
about
we get
that.
to No Time to Die. But weirdly, Quantum actually has double the instances of the Bond theme over Casino Royale, and yet Quantum feels just as subdued.
I think part of it is that the issue is that I found an extended score for Quantum that was an hour and a half long. It's longer than the movie is for the score.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
least favorite,
from Casino Royale.
I have the Solange theme.
Okay.
I don't dislike it. It's just my least favorite. It feels the most out of place for me in the film when she's riding the horse and it looks like something out of like He-Man. She looks like the princess from another castle. Like
Sure.
it feels like it's a little out of place for me, and that's it. I still like it. I think it's a good piece of music. It just doesn't work for me in the context of the film as much.
Okay. My least favorite is actually your favorite. It's
Really?
Miami International.
Is it too long?
The length is part of the issue for me, but honestly, more of it. This film intelligently tries to stay away from what Arnold was doing with Brosnan to give
Sure.
it an identity.
Mhm.
Miami International is the only misstep in that because it brings
Yeah.
back the electronics,
Yes.
which I was so frustrated with that.
That's fair. Well, I think for me, within the context of the film, with the whole airplane unveiling and the bomber,
No,
and
no,
the
I
thing,
understand.
It
I
works.
understand. The problem is that we had had too much of the electronics for the past two
Sure.
films, and this film very much feels like we're not going to do what we just did, and I think that's fine. This is the one thing where it feels like it's a holdover from there, and it's kind of the same thing with Solange.
Sure.
To me, that straight up takes a leitmotif that was used in Die Another Day. And so those bits kind of, to me, feel like, Arnold, it's been 4 years. We're doing a new Bond. Why are you using that stuff?
No, he has to copy his own homework sometimes,
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it within actors and within a certain take. The first 20 films, if you want to do that, fine.
Sure.
Craig redoing it, it's a little bit of a harder sell. You can do it, but
No,
yeah.
I get that. Well, that's the thing is that I notice those. I'm okay with a lot of the electronica that appears in scores from 1997 through 2007, but I understand that the Bond they lean too hard into it for the Bond films from that era. But
do.
thankfully, I will say that I don't think we really have much of that getting into Quantum of Solace. I think that this score is very intelligent. I was overjoyed to get back to it. I listened to it earlier in the week, and I listened to it like a year or two ago when I was doing my own critical reevaluation of the films. And I'm like, there's so much good music in this soundtrack that I don't know if it's mixed a little bit too low in the film. You don't hear a ton of it in certain parts of the film, but I thought the score was really intelligent and really well done.
Quantum has a problem with its sound mixing in that the sound overtakes the music. To me, I think a lot of people do sleep on this score.
Yeah.
I've listened to it nearly as much as I did Casino Royale. So I know the score very, very well.
And it's fantastic. For my favorite, I have Time to Get Out near the start of the film.
That's a good one.
And it's funny because I listened to it and then I decided to go on YouTube and just listen to it again and have it playing while I was editing stuff recently. And the comments where people were like, "I never heard this. I never listened to this." It's on an upload from 10 years ago, right?
Right.
And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people have kind of slept on the score for this film. And it has great action. I think it does great with almost like pivoting into a different sound to work with the movie, but it also still works as a standalone piece of music.
Yep. My favorite is most everybody's favorite. It's Night at the Opera.
I have that as one of my runner-ups.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Arnold has talked about that track and that he was that was one of the first tracks he did conceptually because he knew he had to have a theme for the Quantum Organization. Mm-hmm. And that theme is most of the backbone of this track.
Yes. Well, and that part of that theme shows up in Oil Fields too.
Yep.
It has that kind of meandering. Again, it is that moody atmosphere.
We don't know anything about this organization yet.
And we don't get a lot of mysterious music in the Bond films, despite them being about subterfuge and spying. Well, even back in the day, we didn't get a ton of it. For me, my proper runner-up, I ended up putting 3 things in runner-up because I really do like the soundtrack that good. But for me, I'd say my number 1 runner-up is the Palio.
Okay.
Which is another kind of action-y piece. It works in some of the mystique and the moodiness. And then I threw in Oil Fields and Night at the Opera as other runner-ups. I'm only going to count the first one if we do have a crossover there.
Yeah.
But it's just fantastic.
My runner-up is Oil Fields. I think that is the slickest bit of action. It's not action, but it's the slickest bit of Bond music.
Yes.
I think he does in the film, especially using the Bond theme.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that again, that goes back into it that I think a lot of people have overlooked Quantum because of how they viewed it 20 years ago versus now, and I think there's more of a reappraisal.
Now, it's not one of my favorite films. Mm-hmm. I understand people's gripe with it, but try listening to the music apart from it.
It's fantastic. It's utterly fantastic. And again, I just really do dig it. I did cheat, but this shows up as part of it. I have the instrumental version of Another Way to Die as my least favorite.
I think that's a fair pick. I went with Target Terminated.
Which
is the helicopter action music. It's not that it's bad. It's just the most generic of any of the bits of music in the film to me.
That's fair. And I will go on record. I don't hate Another Way to Die. I should. I don't. I would sooner listen to it than some of the tracks that other people like a lot more.
Yeah.
But Quantum. I will say going from Quantum to the next film is kind of jarring because they're totally different sounds to me.
Oh my gosh.
I have a picture of Skyfall and Spectre here because Spectre said, "Hey bro, can I copy your homework?" And Skyfall said, "Please change something." And then Spectre said, "Nah." It's Skyfall and Spectre scores. I did re-listen to Spectre, and there are more of the Mexican guitar overtones.
There's more of a difference between the two scores than people care to admit, but that joke that you made is very accurate. There's a lot of not just cues copied over within the film, which is certainly a problem, but just the style. There is almost nothing to me that is stylistically that different from Skyfall and Spectre.
And these are both composed by Thomas Newman. I like how the soundtrack works in Skyfall, but it doesn't feel as Bond as the Arnold soundtracks did for every Arnold scored film. I think that the Bond cues we get, and I don't just mean using the Monty Norman Bond theme, but like the overarching themes for the film, I like it when Skyfall is used, but when it's the kind of more like 60s guitar light sound, it's noticeable for Skyfall, but it doesn't feel Bond. It feels like it could be any 60s Man from U.N.C.L.E. or, you name it. It's any of those.
Honestly, when I saw the film for the first time, it reminded me of the Brosnan video games.
Yeah.
Fire and Nightfire also do the 20 guitar quite like that. And I was like, oh, wow, that feels like a throwback.
So with Skyfall, I did re-listen to it recently, and I did find stuff that I liked. It's not like I hated it. It's just it felt kind of generic. And what I have as my number 1, I have Jellyfish.
That is also my number 1.
Hey, look at that. I like it because, I think it works well for the scene in the film. Skyfall's a movie that you and I talked about this. Every time I watch it, I see more plot holes, and the movie just sinks for how much I like it. All the plot holes are getting shot in the bottom of the boat, and the boat's sinking.
Sure.
But Jellyfish is a track that works very well in the film, and I think it works great standalone too.
Yeah. It feels the most artistic.
Yes.
I would say, artistically inclined, in that if the rest of the score was like Jellyfish, had that kind of creativity, then I think Thomas Newman, would be rightly talked about as like one of the best composers. But it's very limited to just that. And Thomas Newman, to me, is how talented he is, his two scores in comparison with his reputation are the biggest disappointment musically for me.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not the worst scores, but
bar none.
What I know that guy could have given us, this feels so very safe, so very generic.
It kind of feels like a job for hire, which is jarring after going from Arnold, who was not, and then I would say Hans Zimmer feels like he understands Bond more than Newman did widely. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
For my runner-up, I have the Severine theme.
Okay. I actually had the action bit of music, Welcome to Scotland.
Sure. Yeah. It's good. This is something that I can't knock Skyfall for it, but it happened anyway. That shows up again in Spectre. And that hurts it for me. At least twice. And that's why Spectre, I'm like, eh.
And that same motif shows up earlier, even within Skyfall. Like, this feels like the John Barry Snow Job, where he just found an action theme that he really liked and kept using it.
Looking at chat here, Hunker Crab says that he really enjoyed the Skyfall theme. I think Skyfall, the Adele track, wonderful. When it's used in the movie, thumbs up. I am all here for it. They don't do Skyfall enough in Skyfall, and they do just generic more.
Specific section of Komodo Dragon where that shows up, that's probably like 2 minutes of my favorite music within the entire film.
Yes. Now, for my least favorite track for Skyfall, I have the Close Shave track.
Okay.
That plays, because it's just generic. It just feels too generic to me. It doesn't feel like, I'd rather hear... I don't want to hear bad music, but at least bad music is more interesting to me than boring music bland. Or generic. Yeah. So, Close Shave.
On the same line of bland, I'm going with Skyfall, the track that is specifically when Bond's traveling to Skyfall. That lone horn going in with it when they go into the fields of Scotland. It's not a track that like I feel is cool enough to justify its more ambient feel. It feels like I could have substituted that in with any other film. Absolutely.
And honestly, I think this kind of just blends right in with Spectre, is that since the score for Spectre is taking a lot of the notes from Skyfall, I was looking for things that were different in Spectre to not just be more of Skyfall, which is hard.
They do exist, but not only just watching it with the film, it feels exactly the same, but even if you just listen to the soundtrack album as like a homework assignment, there's so much bleed over, just in terms of style, in a way that doesn't feel as copy-paste as like what John Barry would sometimes do. Because each of those scores, I can tell you specific tracks from Diamonds Are Forever and hum specific themes that aren't the main theme. I can do it with Thunderball. I can do it with Moonraker or any of these other things. I can do it with a lot of the David Arnold scores.
For these two?
Spectre is really tough.
Unless you hear Mexican guitar music, which only shows up in a couple of the tracks there.
Which Los Muertos Vivos Están is my favorite from the whole movie.
I have Backfire. It's fine. It's and then I'm gonna go right in the runner up because I'm okay to count this because again, it's not something from Skyfall, and that is the instrumental versions of Writing on the Wall.
That is also
Writings on the Walls. Okay, so I'll put that here. And that's just because it's something that's different. I like the track. I think it works well enough. I know people have been talking about it for a decade about, why didn't XYZ band get Spectre? Writings on the Wall feels like the most Bond type of track for me for what that film is. I don't want to see Radiohead have their song wasted on Spectre. The movie too good for that. Right. Or sorry, the song too good for that. The movie not good enough. And then for my least favorite, I literally put on here, I have my notes. It's a wash. It's anything from Skyfall that was obviously from Skyfall. I don't care how good it was in Skyfall. I don't want to hear it again nearly identically in Spectre.
Yeah. Unless you pull a John Williams and are able to take the leitmotif and make it clearly different. I don't want to hear copy paste. Because once we got over from the 60s, I feel there's no excuse to do that again.
I 100% agree.
For me, it's Pale King.
Yeah.
For a lot of the same reason. It's just, so what?
Yeah. And that's the bummer, is that I think Spectre's not my least favorite Bond film, but it's like inching its way towards that because it's like the biggest waste of what could have been something better. It's like, if they didn't get the rights back from Kevin McClory's estate and all of that, would the next movie have been a better film? And all the things that could have happened, but it just comes down to too much money going into a film where everything was half-baked.
This should have been a film where everybody was excited to be here. That we were getting to do some stuff that we hadn't been doing for a long time. This really should have been an assignment that everybody was excited about. And it feels the most 7th grade writing project. I need to get this in for a grade.
100% agreed. It is a shame. But I will say, and you've heard me say this, and I am an ardent defender of the next film, but I believe that No Time to Die, much like a lot of games that had a bad previous game and has to try to make up for it, No Time to Die does the best that it can given the groundwork that was laid in Spectre.
It is unfortunate because it does have that handicap that very few films had.
But it was not handicapped by a composer who didn't care or was not as interested. I think the Zimmer score is utterly fantastic. I think it takes the moody atmosphere that I want to hear and great action. He doesn't skimp on the Bond theme. He works in the title track throughout all of it. Hans Zimmer has been accused of having a lot of similar sounding scores, which I would agree with.
And
this is one that doesn't sound like it's Dark Knight or you name it. It doesn't sound like any of the other things he's done.
Yeah.
This feels like a Bond score, and I'm so happy that we got this again.
Yeah. Zimmer has been consistently doing stuff like it since Crimson Tide, where he just reuses things. Like his score for The Rock is built off of that. His scores for Pirates of the Caribbean actually started as a bunch of unused cues for Crimson Tide and The Rock. And then when he went to Dark Knight Inception, he started to go for a different sound, which I thought was actually quite a bit blander after Inception. So I was with you on that. And I was really nervous coming into here because we were supposed to have a different composer. And he got dropped after the film was completed. And they went with Hans Zimmer. And I'm like, that's such a replacement job. This is going to suck. This is going to suck.
And then
oh, my goodness.
It's fantastic.
You brought back hope.
Yeah. And this is one that I remember I'm sorry, No Time to Die, not Spectre. No Time to Die got pushed back, and the Billie Eilish song comes out, and I loved it, and I still love it. And then I got the album for this, the digital copy of the album, which is the same as my physical vinyl release here. And I listened to it, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then I watched the movie, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then now, 4 years later, I've seen the movie probably literally 22, 23 times. And I'm like, this is awesome. This soundtrack is fantastic. I love it. And I did struggle to pick favorites and runner-ups. And even picking a least favorite. This is another one where it's a least favorite, not a worst.
Yeah.
And for me, when I think of No Time to Die, the music that I think of is the Cuba Chase. And that is my number one.
That's my runner-up.
Okay. So what do you have as your number one?
Back to MI6.
Okay, yeah.
It's a safe choice, but every time that Bond theme kicks in, it brings it back to what I love from Michael Kamen's score. It brings it back to what I love from some of the harder versions of the Bond theme that David Arnold did. It's just one of those, like, we are doing the Bond theme and we are excited to do it.
Well, and I appreciate, you watch No Time to Die, and before you get to the pre-titles, you get the Bond theme at least once, right? Because we get it in Square Escape when the Aston Martin's doing circles and spraying machine gun fire. And I like that Hans Zimmer was not afraid to use the Bond theme. He did not have the trepidation that for whatever reason appeared in the previous ones of, we need to save it. No, you use that as often as you can without making it be passé, right?
And the funny thing is if you do the films in terms of number of instances, Zimmer doesn't use it any more than like a number of other people. It's the instances you use it. It's how you use it. John Barry, a number of his scores only use the Bond theme like 2, maybe 3 times. So they actually use it less than Thomas Newman does in his score. The difference is put it front and center. I want to hear this thing. Yeah. Cannot be mistaken for anything else. I don't want it to just be English music in the background you have to be listening to. So bum, 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 bum.
Great.
Yes.
Yes. The Cuba chase, we get it. We get it at the Square Escape. We get it all throughout the film. Again, not overused, but it's used perfectly at the right time.
It's in Cuba chase. It's for that final ascent up the one shot.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
And that's my thing, is that this is a score where I really did struggle, kind of like Tomorrow Never Dies. I had to struggle to pick one that I didn't like. My runner-up is Final Ascent. I think it's a great piece of music to close out the last bit of the film. I get a lot of folks have issues with the end of the movie, the death itself. But for me, I think it's utterly fantastic. That piece of music helps to resonate it. And again, this is a benefit to Zimmer coming in after the film was finished, is that he got to basically choose when certain parts of the score worked into what was happening on screen. And we had this big, tremendous thing that happens when the missiles hit the island. And for me, it works wonderfully. It's, again, like every piece of music in this film, and this is getting to it, my least favorite is still a piece of music that works great. I just had to pick a least favorite.
Sure.
Right? So my runner-up is Final Ascent. My least favorite is just Good to Have You Back, because it is part of the Majesty's music. It's as simple as that. And I still love it. It's still great. It's not like I dislike it. It's just that I have to pick a least favorite. And that happens to be it, because it's not something wholly original for the film. It's as simple as that.
To me, it's Poison Garden.
Yeah, the Poison Garden, I would understand how that could be a least favorite.
It's just a little bland.
It's a little bland, but I do like that it has that foreboding evil sound.
Yeah,
which a lot of composers can struggle to get through.
I don't know if that is specifically Safin's theme, but it's what I think of. But it is used throughout the film a bunch.
Yes.
Which I really appreciate, both in suspense and in action scenes. But I understand your reasoning for the Majesty's thing. And we've talked about this. This film's use of Majesty's is one of the big gripes people have with this score. I'm actually fine with the Majesty's theme itself, because it kind of felt like it wants to break free from its film and be the secondary action theme. For whatever reason, 007 didn't work. I'm fine with that. It's the reuse of We Have All the Time in the World that grates me the most, because that was character specific. I don't like bringing that back over to here, because you are deliberately cashing in on nostalgia in a way I don't think is appropriate.
No, I agree. I think that's the biggest sin to the score, but I don't know if that was a Hans Zimmer decision or if that was
I didn't dare put the Louis Armstrong song on this. But that is the bit of music in the film that is the most jarring to me, not because of the song, but because it's how it's used. But I'm not putting it as my least favorite.
Well, and again, that goes back into it, is that the song is great. It's just how it's utilized in the film. And yeah, I mean, No Time to Die is one that I have listened to end over end. I've got my physical copy. It's slightly off screen, but right over here. And yeah, it's one that I love. I would love to see Hans Zimmer come back for another one. I would love to see David Arnold come back. I just want to see someone who understands it. And that's my thing, is that Hans Zimmer, I doubt he would do a copy of what he did here if he does come back for the next film, because that feels very much like he understood what Billie Eilish and her song was, because that gets used quite a bit throughout the film. The Madeline theme that kind of appears throughout the film is something that works well. I could see him doing a new original piece for it, but I won't talk about a composer until the composer gets announced. You know, so that leads us to a goofy picture I found of Sean Connery punching Oddjob. I saw that face and I'm like, I gotta have that in here somewhere. This leads us to the end here, where I have our tally we have 17 matches here. 17 exact matches, which I don't know if that's more or less than I expected, but that's 17 ain't bad. Well, because I know that we have different tastes for what we appreciate in the scores for the most part. But also we had 17 crossovers.
Yeah, but we also had a number of them that were very close, where you and I were thinking along the same lines of like, that's my favorite track, that's my least favorite track, and they were switched.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and again, it all plays a part there. Now, this is the part where we can say, okay, I won't make either one of us say what's our favorite score, because that might be kind of hard. But let's say a top 3, and then I guess the bottom's easy, because for the official films it's Dr. No, and for the unofficial films it's Never Say Never Again. You know? Yeah. Like, we know that those are bad. What are our top 3 for the scores?
Well, to me, this is an easy one because I've already done this. And it still rings true even 2+ years since I've done this video. My number 3 is Casino Royale 06. My number 2 is For Your Eyes Only. And my absolute favorite is The Living Daylights. And I am not, there's no hesitation on me, on my part. That is my favorite.
Yeah, I had to write mine down, and they're all abbreviations.
Fine.
Do I have to pick a favorite? This is hard. This is like
I know. It's picking like your own children, because like Majesty's is my 4th, From Russia with Love is my 5th, Tomorrow Never Dies is my 6th. Like, there's so many good ones. Well,
and I will put it this way: if I was stranded on a desert island with any of these soundtracks, that any of these 3, and this goes to like probably the top 10. If I was stranded on a desert island, I'd be content. My top 3, which I have just written here, I'm going to go with The Living Daylights, Tomorrow Never Dies, and No Time to Die. And I think I would have to say that Tomorrow Never Dies is probably number 1, but it's vying for position with The Living Daylights. No Time to Die is 3. I love it a lot. It is fantastic. But when I think Bond, these 2, Tomorrow Never Dies and Living Daylights, are what comes in my head. And I think of that synthy ice chase, that Dalton Bond theme there, as what's there in my head. But then I think of Backseat Driver, and I think of Company Car, and that classy, classic, timeless sound. But it's hard. But again, this is an embarrassment of riches, right?
Yeah. How dare we have so many great scores? And there have been few, just as final thoughts, there have been few franchises that has been blessed musically as Bond. And I'm not just talking title songs here, because yes, it has, but just soundtracks wise, there are like, I'm of the opinion that every Bond film has merit. So I am more of a fan of more of the films than most people. That's doubly true for the soundtracks, where I just love so many of them, and I would say, oh yeah, that's great. That's a great track. That's a great soundtrack too. Yeah.
Well, again, it's an embarrassment of riches. I'm looking at my list here, top, all 27 scores, and there are 2.5 I would cut out of here to not listen to again, right? And it's as simple as that. 24.5 out of 27 ain't bad. I'd take those odds.
Yeah, right. No, I'm with you. My least favorite, Never Say Never Again, Dr. No, and then Spectre.
Yeah, Spectre is just such a dull. It's such a waste. The money that went into it. I mean, that entire film feels like it's a waste. Personally, it's a shame.
But, I know some people love it.
I have more. I think I have more love for A View to a Kill than I do Spectre. Because at least it felt like they tried, and the budget for A View to a Kill, even accounting for inflation, was still substantially less than Spectre, for what Spectre was.
Yeah.
And at least I can say I like the score in A View to a Kill, even if it's kind of flat.
Yeah.
And, hey, there ain't no Willem Dafoe showing up in Spectre.
Everything or Nothing without A View to a Kill.
Or sorry, I Willem Dafoe, I mixed that in Christopher Walken. Because Willem Dafoe is the protege.
Yep.
And when are we ranking the video game soundtracks?
Oh boy.
Where does 007 Racing?
Do we do a cutoff, like saying everything after a particular year? Because if you're going to make me listen to the Atari scores, I don't know if I can pick a favorite and a least favorite, because some of those bits of music, there's only like 1 or 2 bits of music for the entire game.
Sure. No, no, I agree. That'd be a difficult thing, but I will say that Everything or Nothing and From Russia with Love, fantastic scores.
Yeah,
Goldeneye,
I'm a
007,
big fan of
fantastic.
Bloodstones.
Bloodstones is
Um,
good. The title track is. I think that works better as a Bond theme than some of the Bond themes do.
yeah, to me, if I ever did a ranking of the Bond themes for the video games, I would be very surprised if "I'll Take It All" is not my number one.
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
fantastic.
is a perfect kind of a Bond theme that we could have, and I would agree with you. Like if I put those in conjunction with some of the films, that almost certainly is in the top 10. I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting how they can find the right people who understand things and make it work there. And it's yeah.
And yeah, and hey, if the rumors are true, I might finally be getting my Dua Lipa track, which would be really cool.
That would be interesting. And I will say that we're talking about the scores, but this goes back into the soundtracks. I think I have faith in whoever they pick to be a vocal artist to do a Bond film.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about the whole run of the official franchise, there are only a handful of title tracks that were done that I think are bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had like Billie Eilish, fantastic. I think the Sam Smith one, great. Skyfall, I mean, Skyfall is like one of the biggest songs of the 21st century, right?
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
plenty of people who have never seen a Bond film that still know that song.
How often do you go into a venue and you hear Bond music playing that isn't something that was massive, right? Because like I've talked to you, we talk about like, oh you go to the mall, you hear Skyfall, you might hear Live and Let Die. I've heard the Madonna song before, which is humorous to go into Kroger and hear that. But that's one of those things with this franchise that the people who make the decisions generally understand what they want to hear, and that leads to the composers and sound designers to pick people who they want to actually see doing that. And Dua Lipa, why not? Let's get her in there. I think it'd be awesome.
No,
She's a good artist.
I'm really excited for that just because I wanted her for a film, but if she's going to do First Light, which is what the reports have been, I'd be fine with that. At least I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why not? I think it'd be awesome. So, looking at the chat here, Chicago Joe says, great conversation, loved every minute. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that you've been here through the 2.5 hours of discussing 27 soundtracks to 27 Bond films. I guess 26 because Spectre and, we won't talk about that no more. I don't want to. I'm all Spectred out.
Yeah. And we have just gone for almost as long as that film actually goes.
Yeah, but our budget was a lot cheaper, and I think our fans are more entertained.
Yeah, if I had $200 million to produce something, I promise you, I would be able to produce something that's more entertaining than Spectre.
Probably. I mean, we'd have like 10 new Bond games out if that was the case.
There'd be a few things I would do if you gave me $200 million and said revitalize the Bond franchise. Video games would be one of my first protocols.
That's an easy one, and people would love it. People have been calling for a long time. But closing out, I will say a couple of things, and then I think we'll do a little highlight section where we highlight other creators we like for a second. But I want to say to everyone who's watched this far, or if you're watching the VOD, thank you for being here. Again, I have timestamps down below that if you somehow skip to the end and you found this, you can jump around as you want to. Everyone, please check out Steven's channel. I have it linked in the title, which should be here. And once this goes into VOD mode, he'll be listed as a collaborator, so you can see his channel through there. Check out his channel. He does great videos, not just on Bond, but Star Wars, Batman, classic literature turned into period piece films, all sorts of wonderful videos that I would very much recommend that you check out. I know Steven's got a lot of great stuff coming out here soon. I've gotten some sneak peeks. I've gotten to see a little bit here and there. His action scenes ranked from yesterday. I love that you did an elimination round style for it. I think that's a very creative way to do it.
Yeah, that was my wife's suggestion, and I thought that could be really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I liked it because it was different. I haven't seen anyone do anything like that before. And it's always ranking, which is fine, but doing it the way you did it was a little bit more inventive.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we have any Bond creators we'd like to highlight? Is there anyone off the top of your head that you can think
I can
of?
always highlight good ones. I mean, the premier to me is Calvin Dyson. And I mean, he's worked very hard to get to where he is, and he has such a fun attitude about a lot of these things that I think more people should emulate. Obviously, you have David Zaritsky with the Bond Experience.
Absolutely.
You have my buddy Yaron from Dutch Bond Fan, who I have actually talked to on occasion, and he's wonderful. There are some other good ones that just aren't going, that are going a little bit unseen these days. Like Haphazard Stuff was one of the early ones. He hasn't done as much now. There's Ryan from Analyze This, Mr. Bond.
Love Ryan.
There's who I've also talked to as well. There's a lot of good Bond content creators out there that just aren't getting noticed, and I've just been very happy to be associated with them. Period.
Oh, I will flatter Steven some more. He's associated with them because his videos are fantastic, and that's the important thing: is that the substance is there.
Oh, thank you.
If you're looking for a good analysis, Steven's done every Bond film and worked into Star Wars a bit here, because you've done. I mean, you've done a bunch of the spin-off films, but also you've gotten into the mainline films because you did. Oh yeah. Because I guess it was Return of the Jedi, the next mainline film review that's dropping.
That would be it, except I've got one for Christmas.
Oh, we talked about that. I forgot about that.
Yes,
I totally forgot about that.
The holiday special is going to be the next major Star Wars one that I do. I didn't feel obligated to do it, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought to myself that might be fun.
Yeah, why not?
The next video that I'm doing is not Bond, but it's been a passion project of mine for about a year or two, and it's almost ready.
Is this? I won't spoil it, but is it the thing I think about with a certain lady who climbs stuff, or is it something different?
I will spoil it because I've never been one to hold back. I originally did a ranking of the Tomb Raider games pretty close to when I started the channel. And it was just the Crystal Dynamics games because those were the only ones that I played. I have since played the core design games, and so I am doing about a 45-minute to an hour-long video talking about those. That is my very next one.
I'm looking forward to it because you and I have talked about Tomb Raider a fair bit about how people kind of glaze the classic games. Yep. And when you go back to them, there are good qualities, but also
there's some really great stuff in it. But I'm going to save my opinions for the video.
Hey, I support that, and I'm looking forward to it because again, you do your release schedule consistently enough that it's like it's happening right when I'm in the middle of doing something where I can listen to something in the background. Yep. So it's like, I'm working on a project or I'm at the gym. Okay, let's throw on the video and listen to it while I'm tearing off all the calluses on my hands while I'm lifting. Which is what happened a couple days ago. So. Yeah. But yeah, I guess for Bond content creators to shout out, I always want to shout out Easy Smiles, Expensive Watches on Instagram, Kyle Barbeau, just because he is a pleasant fella. And yeah, he's not on YouTube, but he should be on YouTube. Every time I see him pop up somewhere, he's just a pleasant guy to have around. So nice. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone that's here. I believe that we are going to be ending our live show here. But again, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of my channel, but also for enjoying Steven's works here too. And we'll see you in the next time that we do a live show together. So, adios, friends. Take care.